Chapter 229. After Li Huan rolled down the stairs, an angry voice came from below. "Son of a bitch, you dare to hit me." Li Huan angrily ran up from below. His lackeys beside him glared at him and said, "Brat, how dare you bump into me? Do you know who I am?" "I don't know, I only know that you just hit me," Yi Tianyun said indifferently. "Damn, court death." Li Huan's palm slapped over. The sharp palm wind was like a blade slapping over. With his cultivation level of 3rd level core condensation, if it was an ordinary cultivator, this palm strike would definitely seriously injure them. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed with cold light. He lifted his foot and kicked forward. Bang! Li Huan was kicked out again. He followed the group of companions and flew down the stairs again and again. This attracted a lot of attention from the guests. Some even came out of their rooms and looked at them. "It's so noisy here, they don't know what happened." "Mansion Lord?" The great elder's voice came from behind, followed by Mu Xian. When they heard the commotion, they opened the door to take a look, only to discover that their manor lord was standing outside. "What happened?" The great elder came out. In addition to Mu Xian, there were 2 deacons. They didn't bring many people. Deacon Qian was left in Heaven's top mansion to take care of the previous mansion lord. "Nothing, a few small fries came to make trouble," Yi Tianyun said indifferently. "I will kill you," Li Huan shouted, followed by the sound of someone crawling up, and immediately a weak voice came, young lord." Immediately, someone came up from below. An elegant young man came up from downstairs, waving a fan in his hand to gently cool himself down. He looks very handsome, very elegant, obviously a disciple of a big force. Just from the aura he emitted, you can tell that he is a lot higher than others. Li Huan followed behind respectfully. When he looked up at Yi Tianyun, his anger instantly surged, and he wanted nothing more than to crush Yi Tianyun to death. However, he could only hold his stomach and walk over in a half-squat. Although Yi Tianyun's kick wasn't very heavy, it wasn't light either. At least a few of his ribs were broken. "Are you from Heaven's top mansion?" Lin Feng coldly looked at them. "Is there a problem?" Yi Tianyun replied indifferently. "There's no problem. A trashy sect dares to be so arrogant here and even injure my people. If you want to hit a dog, you have to look at its owner. Don't you understand this sentence?" Lin Feng looked at them coldly and said, "Li Huan, who hit you just now?" That's him." Li Huan pointed at Yi Tianyun. "Well, cripple one of your hands and then get out of here. I won't pursue this matter with your Heaven's top mansion." "Oh no, I mean Heaven's top sect," Lin Feng said coldly. He also specifically emphasized Heaven's limit sect. Obviously, he was mocking Heaven's top mansion for being reduced to a 2nd-grade force, even inferior to a high-grade 2nd-grade force. In the eyes of a 3rd-grade force, a 2nd-grade force is no different than trash. "Won't pursue this matter with our Heaven's top mansion." The great elder stood up and said, "What a big tone. I think if he didn't make the first move, our people wouldn't have made a move. He didn't say it was the mansion lord. He wanted to keep it a secret for the time being. After all, the mansion lord is too young. I'll say it for the last time, cripple one of your hands, or else it won't be as simple as crippling a hand." Lin Feng's cultivation isn't very high, he's only at 5th level core condensation, but the guard next to him is at 6th level spirit core, which is higher than the great elder of Heaven's top mansion. The great elder frowned. These people are unreasonable. He knows that Yi Tianyun will never make a move, so it must be the Heaven's top mansion's problem. What reasoning was bullshit? To the big sects, he was the reason. Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold. "Then I'll say it for the last time, either get out of my sight, or I'll kick you down." Lin Feng's eyes turned gloomy. He didn't expect that a kid would dare to talk back to him. He raised his hand and pointed at Yi Tianyun and said coldly, "Heaven's top mansion is so arrogant. Cripple him." The silent spirit core expert rushed towards Yi Tianyun. The great elder tried to block the attack for Yi Tianyun. But Yi Tianyun's speed is faster. He lifted his foot and kicked the Spirit Core Realm Expert. Bang! The Spirit Core Realm Expert was kicked down the corridor and fell heavily on the ground. His whole body sunk. It seems that the kick is not light at all. It's your turn. Yi Tianyun walked towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng and the others were shocked by this scene. A Spirit Core Stage Cultivator was sent flying by a kick and was instantly killed. You dare to attack me? I'm from the Divine Rune Mansion. Lin Feng's body trembled. He was scared by Yi Tianyun's strength. Get the hell out of here. Yi Tianyun slammed his foot on Lin Feng. Lin Feng quickly blocked it, but how could he resist this overbearing kick? He was kicked out of the corridor, and then fell heavily to the ground. With a peng sound, he didn't even have the slightest breath left. Ding, successfully killed Lin Feng. Reward, 23,000 EXP, 2,400 Crazy Point, 30 SPS, 500 Divine Rune Mastery. Obtained Skyward Secret Art, Heavenly Sun Art. Obtained Purple Golden Feather Fan. Huh. He's dead. Yi Tianyun froze for a moment. He didn't expect Lin Feng to be so fragile. He just wanted to teach them a little lesson. He didn't expect Lin Feng to be so fragile. He fell from the 3rd floor and died. But it doesn't matter, Yi Tianyun doesn't care at all. Following that, a few more kicks were sent flying. Li Huan and the others were all sent flying. They fell from the sky one after another, suffering serious injuries. They were lucky that they didn't fall to their deaths. A group of people were groaning in pain in the Great Hall. This fall was not light at all. The expert climbed up without saying a word and picked up Lin Feng's body. He glared at Yi Tianyun fiercely and then left with Lin Feng without saying a word. Maybe he's mute, or maybe he doesn't want to talk. Manor Lord, isn't this a little too big of a commotion? The Grand Elder was dumbfounded when he saw the disciples of the Divine Inscription Manor being kicked away. Mu Xian, next to him, was also shocked. She has seen Yi Tianyun being overbearing, but she has never seen such an overbearing person. The other party is the Divine Rune Mansion, a 3rd-grade faction, which is a lot stronger than them. Blindly enduring will only make us weaker and weaker. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. Since I am the Mansion Lord, I should do something for Heaven's top mansion and maintain the dignity of Heaven's top mansion. Chapter 230. Protect the dignity of Heaven's top mansion. This sentence made their blood boil. Their power was inferior to others, and their dignity was being trampled on. How could they be willing to accept this? Now that Yi Tianyun stood up for them, it reignited the fire in their hearts. We will listen to the Mansion Lord's instructions. Whatever the Mansion Lord wants us to do, we will do it. The Great Elder nodded heavily. He was completely convinced by Yi Tianyun. Previously, he thought that Yi Tianyun had good potential, and because of the previous Mansion Lord, he recognized Yi Tianyun as the Mansion Lord. But now, it was different. They seemed reckless and not low-key enough, but they were bullied and didn't resist. The only ending was to die in silence. If they were all going to die, then they might as well fight for their dignity. Heaven's top mansion was quite famous in the past, and everyone was proud of it. But now, they were like a tiger being bullied by a dog. How could they be willing to accept this? Yi Tianyun smiled slightly. Even if it was an empire level, he would still beat them. The other party was riding on his head, and even threatened to cripple one of his hands. This was impossible. Not to mention, he was not afraid of any 3rd-grade force. No matter how many came, he would kill them all and turn them into experience points. Divine Rune Mansion is really restless. It seems that they are like Lin Li, arrogant because they are from Divine Rune Mansion. It was undeniable that Divine Rune Mansion was famous enough. Originally, they were relatively strong in the field of Divine Rune Mansion. No wonder they were so arrogant. He thought that Divine Rune Mansion only had Lin Li as trash, but now it seemed that he was wrong. They were simply a pile of trash. Each and every one of them looked down on others, plus they were used to being arrogant. In the face of a lower-ranked force, they would not give any face at all. This matter made Tianyun hate Divine Rune Mansion even more. He hoped that Divine Rune Mansion would not continue to provoke him. Otherwise, if he completely trampled them, he could earn a lot of Divine Rune proficiency points so that he could quickly improve his Divine Rune proficiency. Immediately, they returned to their rooms. Tianyun was alone in a room, and the other four were in another room. At their level of cultivation, they didn't need to sleep much. All they had to do was meditate, so it didn't matter if they had a bed or not. Tianyun asked them to come over and rest together, but the Grand Elder and the others insisted that Tianyun be alone in a room. This was the treatment that a manor head deserved. Tianyun felt helpless and could only stay in the room. It was getting late for the banquet. It would arrive the day after tomorrow, so they didn't have to wait too long. Originally, he had planned to arrive at this time, so he didn't have to wait too long. In the blink of an eye, time passed. During this period of time, nothing happened. No one from the Divine Inscription Manor came to cause trouble for him. It's about time. Tianyun opened his eyes. He was here to simply inscribe some divine imprints and cultivate a little to earn some proficiency points. He wants to transfer Jade's sect to Heaven's top mansion as soon as possible. Once the two sects merge, there is no doubt that the overall strength of Heaven's top mansion will greatly increase. He stood up and walked towards the door. Just then, the Grand Elder came out. They looked at each other and saw the cautiousness in each other's eyes. This time, nobody would believe that they were going to attend a banquet. Whoever thought that would be an idiot. Back then, when Elder Yun from the Stellar Pavilion invited them, he explained the purpose of the Netherworld Empire's visit. Basically, they were here to invite them to attend the banquet. As for the content of the banquet, they believed that it wouldn't be anything good. Let's go. They nodded and walked towards the center of the Gathering Dragon City. In the center of the Gathering Dragon City, there was a huge palace that was decorated with gold and jade. It could accommodate many people. However, those who were invited to stay in the palace were few and far between. This caused many third-grade powers to look for inns to stay in. On the contrary, there were many houses in the city for them to stay in. This treatment was simply too bad. The Netherworld Empire was too arrogant. They invited them to attend the banquet, but they didn't prepare a place for them to stay. They even had to look for inns to stay in. Although with their cultivation level, they could just find a place to meditate, the sect still wanted to save face. If they couldn't even afford a place to stay, how could they talk about being strong? Soon, they arrived at the entrance of the city. There were 2 core condensation guards on both sides of the gate. Only those who had an invitation could enter. Invitation. The guard signaled them to stop and hand over the invitation. The Great Elder took out the invitation and handed it over. After a little inspection, the guard nodded and said, "Go in." They immediately let them in. As for the appearance of Tianyun and the others, they didn't even look at them. As long as they had the invitation, they could come in. It didn't matter if they were beggars, they could come in. Of course, if they had the guts to come in, they must be tired of living. After entering, they saw that the palace was heavily guarded. There were several patrolling troops walking back and forth. From time to time, they would look at them. The leader of the patrolling troops was a spirit core cultivator, and the guards were all core condensation cultivators. The gap between them was not small. In a third-grade power, a spirit core cultivator was an elder. But here, they were the leader of an army. Of course, their ranks weren't low, but compared to those elders who were living a comfortable life, these patrolling envoys obviously had more things to do. To become an elder, one had to be at least a core transformation cultivator. But generally, they were called ministers or generals. Tianyun heard that the minister who came this time had a high position. His cultivation had reached the 5th or 6th level of core transformation, which was really heaven-defying. Just his cultivation alone was enough to suppress the patriarchs of a group of rank 3 powers, so how could he possibly dare to speak carelessly? Under the guidance of the guards, they quickly entered the innermost palace. Inside, there were already many cultivators talking. Many forces were divided into groups. Yi Tianyun looked up to see if there were other acquaintances here. Just as he looked up, he immediately saw 2 familiar figures. They were the 2 women he met in Devil Cloud Island. He remembered their names were Yu Shiqian and Zhao Yu. They both came to this banquet. He knew that these 2 people must be the disciples of a big sect. Now that they were invited, they must be the disciples of a big sect. But he didn't wear the 100 transformation mask, so they didn't recognize him. Which sect is that? Yi Tianyun pointed to Yu Shiqian's direction. Oh, that's the female disciple of White Lotus Mansion. They are very famous in the Heavenly Boundary continent. They mainly accept female disciples. It's the same as your Heavenly Jade sect. The Great Elder explained. Chapter 231. White Lotus Mansion, as a big force, was naturally invited, and Yu Shiqian was one of the representatives. Most of the palace lords present on the scene were invited by the Netherworld Empire, and none of the palace lords dared to come in person. The Netherworld Empire didn't need to send an emperor, but they must send a mansion lord, unless there was no mansion lord. So Yi Tianyun glanced around. It can be said that there is a group of strong cultivators here. There are quite a lot of them, all of them are at the spirit core stage. There were many core condensation cultivators. If they could gather together to form a sect, it would definitely be an invincible sect in Heavenly Boundary Continent. But there was already a sect that was at this level, and that was the Empire. The Empire had a lot of spirit core cultivators, dozens of them, and the number of core condensation cultivators was even more amazing. Otherwise, they wouldn't be called an empire. The Empire could control or sweep the entire Heavenly Border continent. This was their strength. Honored guest Yi, you're here. A familiar voice came from the side. Yi Tianyun turned his head and saw Elder Yun. He was a bit surprised to see Yi Tianyun. He was about to say that it was a pity that Yi Tianyun didn't come. There were so many strong cultivators here. If Yi Tianyun could get to know them, it would be beneficial for him. He didn't expect that Yi Tianyun was already here, and he even came with other forces. Elder Yun, you're already here. Yi Tianyun smiled. He was quite embarrassed about the Star Pavilion. After all, he didn't even spend a penny on them. Yes, we just arrived. Pavilion Lord Li just said that it's a pity that you didn't come. Elder Yun looked at the Great Elder and said, I didn't expect you to come with Heaven's Top Mansion. Honored guest Yi, have you already joined Heaven's Top Mansion? Yes, I have joined Heaven's Top Mansion. Please take care of me, Elder Yun. Yi Tianyun didn't hide it. Since he chose to stand with Heaven's Top Mansion, he must be with Heaven's Top Mansion. Then I shall congratulate guest Yi. Elder Yun congratulated Yi Tianyun, but his eyes flashed with disappointment. He felt that with Yi Tianyun's level, joining Heaven's Top Mansion is a waste. Heaven's Top Mansion is getting worse and worse. They can't provide much resources. How can Elder Yun not be disappointed? However, he didn't say anything. After all, he wasn't familiar with Yi Tianyun. At this time, a familiar figure appeared here, which made Yi Tianyun feel a little surprised. The person who came was not a big shot, but Zhang Bin, who had been beaten by him before. This was a minor character, an inconspicuous minor character. He was surprised to see him here. Greetings, Great Elder. Zhang Bin came over and greeted the Great Elder. He didn't show any politeness, completely arrogant attitude. When he saw Yi Tianyun, his eyes were full of disdain. Hey, I didn't expect you to come here to join in the fun. It seems that Heaven's Top Mansion values you very much. Zhang Bin naturally didn't know that Yi Tianyun was the mansion lord. This matter was not announced to the public, so many people didn't know that he was the real mansion lord. Only the deacons who were trusted inside knew that Yi Tianyun was the mansion lord. At first, these deacons felt that it was unbelievable, but after understanding the situation, they were shocked. Perhaps his prestige was not enough, but at least his cultivation level was enough. Huh. I remember you are Heavenly Rune Pavilion's Zhang Bin, why are you here? The great elder frowned. He knew the disciples of Heavenly Rune Pavilion, and he could accurately call out their names. Especially Zhang Bin, whose rank was quite high, so he naturally knew some of them. Why can't I be here? Zhang Bin arrogantly said, but this is the last time I will call you Great Elder. From now on, I am a member of Divine Rune Mansion. I'm sorry, but many of us have already joined Divine Rune Mansion and will no longer stay in Heaven's top mansion. What? The Great Elder's face was gloomy to the extreme. Do you know what the punishment for betraying the sect is? Of course, if you betray the sect, your cultivation will be abolished. Zhang Bin smiled. What is there to abolish in Heaven's top mansion? It's just some rubbish divine runes and some rubbish martial arts. It's really boring to practice. Divine Rune Mansion has the capital. You guys are too weak. You. The Great Elder glared at Zhang Bin and wanted to hit him. Zhang Bin was not afraid at all. Divine Rune Mansion is behind me, and I am now a member of Divine Rune Mansion. If you hit me, it is equivalent to slapping Divine Rune Mansion's face. You have to think about it carefully. If it causes a relationship between the two, slap. A slap had already arrived, slapping Zhang Bin's face fiercely, sending him flying. The crisp sound attracted many people's attention. They didn't expect that someone would dare to hit someone in the banquet. The person who hit him was none other than Yi Tianyun. No matter how garbage I am, I'm still better than a garbage scum like you. Yi Tianyun shook his hand, and his eyes were cold. Zhang Bin, who had been sent flying, had lost many of his teeth. His mouth was full of blood. It was a tragic sight. You dare to hit me. Zhang Bin was still able to get up. Originally, Yi Tianyun was merciful, so of course, he could get up. What happened? At this time, a young man came over. His clothes were embroidered with the words, Divine Rune Mansion, clearly indicating that he is a member of Divine Rune Mansion. Xiang, Deacon Xiang. He hit me, Heaven's top mansion hit me. When Zhang Bin saw Xiang Deacon coming over, he pointed at Yi Tianyun and said coldly as if he saw his savior. Deacon Xiang looked over, and when he knew that it was Heaven's top mansion, his face immediately sank, and said, Heaven's top mansion, I didn't expect that you would dare to hit our people. Yi Tianyun didn't expect that these people didn't know that he killed Divine Rune Mansion's people. Obviously, they came in batches. Deacon Xiang's group obviously brought Zhang Bin and the others to see the world, so they didn't gather with Lin Feng, so they didn't know what happened. I hit our Heaven's top mansion's disciple, I don't know what's wrong with that. Yi Tianyun said indifferently. He is now one of Divine Rune Mansion's people, Divine Rune Mansion. Deacon Xiang emphasized the three words, Divine Rune Mansion, and said with contempt, their talent is not bad, it's a waste to let them stay in Heaven's top mansion. From today onwards, they are our people, if you have the ability to touch them, it's the same as touching our Divine Rune Mansion. Zhang Bin was very arrogant at the side. His face was full of mockery. Having a backer gave him confidence. Yes, I am already one of Divine Rune Mansion's people, it has nothing to do with your Heaven's top mansion. You have to apologize for what you did before, at least give me 2 slaps, otherwise this matter will not end. Boom. This time, it was a kick. Before they could react, Zhang Bin was kicked out in front of Deacon Xiang. Sect has its own rules, if you want to take away this trash, you can. You can take him away now. Yi Tianyun made a gesture. Chapter 232. There was only one consequence for betraying the sect, and that was to get rid of his cultivation. This was the most severe punishment. Even if they don't want his life, they must get rid of his cultivation. Otherwise, what does he think of the sect as? Unless he got permission not to get rid of his cultivation, otherwise, once he betrays the sect, he will get rid of his cultivation. This is the lightest punishment. If it's serious, he will die. Yi Tianyun didn't kill Zhang Bin, he just crippled his cultivation. This will undoubtedly make the other party remember this mistake more deeply. Heaven's top mansion's level might be too low, but they can't forgive their betrayal. As the mansion lord of Heaven's top mansion, he has to personally clean up the mess. My cultivation, my cultivation. Zhang Bin screamed, Deacon Xiang, he destroyed my cultivation, I'm a useless person now. His cultivation can be restored, but it will take many years. Unless he has a heaven-defying pill to aid him in his cultivation, otherwise, he will be no different from a useless person. How old would he be if he were to cultivate back to his original cultivation? At that time, his future would not be bright, let alone becoming an expert. Everyone looked at Heaven's top mansion with shock in their eyes. They didn't expect that Heaven's top mansion would dare to make a move against Divine Rune Mansion. They thought that Heaven's top mansion would swallow their anger and be humiliated, but they actually dared to make a move. Yu Shiqian looked at Yi Tianyun's figure and frowned. She thought of something, but she couldn't think of anything. Sister, what's wrong? Zhao Yu asked. It's nothing, I always feel that the boy is a bit familiar. Yu Shiqian shook her head and said, maybe I'm mistaken, sister, are you interested in him? Zhao Yu looked at Yi Tianyun from head to toe and smiled, this boy is so young, but he has such courage. I don't know what kind of trouble he will provoke. The other party is Divine Rune Mansion, this is too reckless. The elders of Heaven's top mansion didn't stop him, this is really a big trouble. Yu Shiqian nodded as well. She felt that Yi Tianyun was being too reckless. It was good to be young, but it would bring him a lot of trouble. Heaven's top mansion, it seems like you're tired of living. Deacon Xiang said coldly, you want to go against our Divine Rune Mansion? Elder of Heaven's top mansion, are you instructing your disciple to act? The first elder didn't say anything. Yi Tianyun was their manor head, not their disciple. If the manor head were to make a move, the elders would follow suit. Deacon Xiang glanced at the great elder and the others. When he realized that they were all staring at him coldly without saying a word, he coldly said, it seems like you all have instigated your disciples to make a move. I'll give you a chance now. Cripple your hands and your cultivation. When the manor lord and the others arrive, I'll pretend that this never happened. Pa! A slap came over. Deacon Xiang didn't see clearly what was going on. The heavy slap had already hit his face and sent him flying. He slid back a long distance and finally hit a stone pillar. Many of his teeth were knocked out. Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw this scene. They thought that Heaven's top mansion would bow their heads and apologize, or the great elder would come forward to say something. However, he didn't. Instead, he slapped Deacon Xiang across the face and sent him flying. They didn't instruct me to do it, I just wanted to do it. Yi Tianyun said indifferently. Also, I don't like you. You're trying to poach someone else's disciple, yet you're acting so righteous. Everyone was speechless. Isn't this young man too arrogant? He even dared to hit the deacon of Heaven's top mansion. At such a young age, his cultivation is no less than a core condensation cultivator. This made them think highly of him. When did Heaven's top mansion recruit such a talented disciple? But in their hearts, they sighed. If the Divine Rune Mansion's mansion lord comes, then Heaven's top mansion will be finished. If it was the previous Heaven's top mansion, they wouldn't think much of it. But now that Heaven's top mansion has fallen to a second-grade force, they still dare to do such a thing. You! Deacon Xiang jumped up in anger and was about to beat him up, but when he looked up, his eyes were filled with surprise. Mansion Lord, you're here. This Heaven's top mansion is too arrogant. How dare they cripple our disciple and beat me? Deacon Xiang shouted. Nan Fengyun's eyes turned cold. He led a group of people to stand in front of Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun has seen one of them before. It's the spirit core cultivator who was sent flying by Yi Tianyun's kick. It seems that he came with the Mansion Lord. The Mansion Lord of Divine Rune Mansion is Nan Fengyun. His cultivation is not bad. He's at 3rd level of core transformation, which is a lot stronger than Qing Xian Mansion. The Mansion Lord of Qing Xian Mansion is not a core transformation cultivator, only an old ancestor is. The Mansion Lord of Divine Rune Mansion not only has a high cultivation, but he's also a 5th grade Divine Rune Master. Which one of you killed my personal disciple? Nan Fengyun looked at them coldly. His aura suddenly pressed down on them. The Great Elder's face changed. The Mansion Lord of Divine Rune Mansion came in person. He's a core transformation cultivator, an existence that they can only look up to. Just his aura alone was enough to suppress them, but Yi Tianyun's expression was indifferent. Killed his personal disciple. Everyone was shocked. They thought that Nan Fengyun is here to get back at them, but it turns out that he's here for revenge. They thought that beating up Deacon Xiang was bad enough. They didn't expect that Nan Fengyun would kill Nan Fengyun's personal disciple. Deacon Xiang was dumbfounded. Zhang Bin was also dumbfounded. No wonder Nan Fengyun is not afraid of the Divine Rune Mansion. He even dared to kill the Mansion Lord's personal disciple. Why would he be afraid of the Divine Rune Mansion? At this time, the spirit core cultivator next to Nan Fengyun pointed at him and said in an unpleasant voice, "He killed him." His voice sounded like a broken drum. No wonder he doesn't talk much. His voice is very unpleasant to hear. In an instant, everyone's eyes were focused on Yi Tianyun, and they were stunned once again. This young man is so daring, he even dared to kill Nan Fengyun's direct disciple. He can't do anything he wants. The most important thing is that the elders behind them didn't come out to stop Nan Fengyun. You killed him. Nan Fengyun looked at him coldly. A fierce light flashed in his eyes. Fine, I'll pay with my life. After he finished speaking, he reached out his hand and grabbed Yi Tianyun's shoulder. He wasn't in a hurry to kill Yi Tianyun. He just wanted to torture him in front of everyone. At this time, a sudden shout came from above. Stop! Nan Fengyun's hand stopped. He turned his head and looked up. The one who called for them to stop was none other than the Netherworld Empire's guard. Lord Qingfeng is about to arrive. Why are you all making such a ruckus? This is the Gathering Dragon City, not your Divine Rune Mansion. The guard said coldly. Humph. Nan Fengyun withdrew his hand and looked at Yi Tianyun coldly. You're lucky. I'll let you live for now. After this is over, you'll die. No, you're lucky. Yi Tianyun said indifferently. Chapter 233. Yi Tianyun's arrogance made a lot of people speechless. Even if the Mansion Lord personally came, he didn't show any fear. Instead, he became even more arrogant. But it's not Yi Tianyun's arrogance, it's Divine Rune Mansion's bullying. It's as if Yi Tianyun likes to cause trouble. If it wasn't for Lin Feng being overbearing, Yi Tianyun wouldn't even bother to hit Lin Feng. Yi Tianyun wanted to keep a low profile, but since he was forced to take action, then don't blame him. Many people shook their heads. This Heaven's Top Mansion is finished. Not only will this young man die, but Heaven's Top Mansion will also have to pay a huge price. If they don't compensate, how can they appease Divine Rune Mansion's anger? Good boy, you've got guts. Nan Fengyun stared at him coldly, and then looked at the Great Elder of Heaven's Top Mansion. You're quite confident. It seems that you have a backer. The Great Elder smiled bitterly. Since when did they have a backer? Now they just listen to Yi Tianyun's instructions. Mansion Lord Nan, you don't need to know this. The Great Elder's expression didn't change. He just followed Yi Tianyun's instructions. Very good. Nan Fengyun said coldly, when this matter is over, I will personally visit Heaven's Top Mansion and see what kind of backer you have. Zhao Yu on the side was also paying attention to this scene. Sister, that young man is too arrogant. Isn't he afraid of Mansion Lord Nan? Zhao Yu's beautiful eyes were full of shock. If it was her, she wouldn't dare to do such a thing. Maybe he got some instructions, or he really has a backer. Yu Shiqian shook her head. She doesn't need to think too much about the result. Heaven's top mansion is finished. Star Pavilion's side was even more shocked. Originally, they wanted to protect Yi Tianyun, but now it seems that they don't dare to come out. Yi Tianyun said that if they come out, it's equivalent to going against Divine Rune Mansion. They won't do such a thing. Pavilion Master Li, this guest Elder Yi. Sigh. Elder Yun shook his head. It wasn't that they were too cold, but that Yi Tianyun had killed the other party's direct disciple. This wasn't a matter that they could suppress with just a few words. I didn't expect honored guest Yi to be a troublemaker. Li Tianlong smiled bitterly. He originally wanted to come forward to settle the matter regarding Deacon Xiang. He could still suppress this matter, but he really couldn't make a decision regarding the death of a pro-disciple. The Starry Sky Pavilion had always maintained a neutral stance. It would be fine if the Starry Sky Pavilion simply quelled their anger. However, the matter of the Starry Sky Pavilion killing a personal disciple was not something that could be easily quelled. If he didn't handle it well, the Star Pavilion would become Yi Tianyun's backer. He couldn't afford to bear the consequences. At this time, a handsome middle-aged man slowly walked out of the palace. He was the minister of the Netherworld Empire, Qing Feng. The person in the upper echelon was full of vigor and might without being angry. As soon as he appeared, a powerful pressure was released in all directions, giving them a great sense of pressure. After he walked out of the palace, he glanced around and slightly nodded his head. He was very satisfied with this arrangement. Greetings, Lord Cheng. At this time, the people in the front began to greet Qing Feng respectfully. The rest of the forces also followed suit. Whether they were willing or not, they had to greet Qing Feng. Otherwise, it would be disrespectful to the Netherworld Empire. Even the palace lords had to be respectful in front of Qing Feng. This was the gap between the two forces. Even the ordinary guards of the Netherworld Empire couldn't be killed at will. As the saying goes, one must look at the owner before beating a dog. The consequences of provoking the Netherworld Empire would be tragic. Well, I'm very satisfied that all the palace lords have come. Cheng Feng's expression was indifferent. He looked at them and slowly explained, this time, I invited a total of 15 forces. One of them was very indiscreet and even injured our emissary. Before the banquet started, we completely suppressed it. In the future, this sect will no longer exist. That's why I came a little late. Cheng Feng's tone was a little flat as he narrated the shocking news. A third-grade force was destroyed just like that. The Netherworld Empire only invited third-grade forces. That's why there were only 15 third-grade forces in the entire Heavenly Boundary continent. Looking at the overall scale, there were indeed 14 large and small sections. The spacious hall could easily accommodate all of them. This reminded Yi Tianyun of the injured eagle when he just entered the city gate. It must be the result of the third-grade force's resistance. In the end, the outcome was simple and brutal. They were completely destroyed. This time, I invited all of you here to discuss a matter with you. This matter is an order from the Great Emperor. He specifically emphasized the word, Great Emperor. He wanted to make it clear that if anyone disobeyed the order from the Great Emperor, the consequences would be unimaginable. Everyone's heart jumped and they began to get nervous. They didn't know what was going to happen. Oh yes, the timing is very coincidental. Today is my birthday. Qing Feng smiled and said, what a coincidence, I almost forgot about it. Everyone was surprised. Why did he suddenly mention his birthday? Wasn't he going to talk about business? At this time, someone quickly came forward and said, congratulations, Lord Cheng. This is 100-year-old spirit ginseng that we have carefully prepared for Lord Cheng. Eating it will help you replenish your blood and qi, extend your life, and stabilize your cultivation. One of the palace lords immediately reacted and handed 100-year spirit ginseng to Qing Feng. Well, how can I accept this? But this 100-year spirit ginseng is not bad. I like it a lot. Qing Feng immediately beamed with joy and glanced at the prefecture lord. The prefecture lord was even more ingratiating. It would be great if Qing Feng could take care of him. At this time, many people realized that Qing Feng was really thick-skinned. Originally, the Netherworld Emperor had asked him to announce this matter, but he suddenly mentioned his birthday. He simply wanted to take this opportunity to receive gifts. But they couldn't refuse. How could they prepare gifts? Everything was too sudden. But it couldn't be said that it was too sudden. It could only be said that Qing Feng couldn't tell them that today was his birthday. This was too much. He just wanted to use the Netherworld Emperor's words to celebrate his birthday. It was perfect. Fortunately, someone immediately reacted and gave a gift. This made many palace lords envious. This meant that they would get more attention. Master Cheng, this is a high-grade soul tool. It contains the blood of a dragon. When it attacks, it can release a dragon's might to intimidate the enemy. Master Cheng, this is a 300-year jade spirit grass that we carefully prepared. It can. Chapter 234. Some of the sects didn't have a good impression of the Netherworld Empire from the start, so now that the Netherworld Empire wanted to send gifts to them, they couldn't help but feel disgusted. But even if they don't like it, they still have to send gifts, otherwise they will be the unlucky ones. After all, the other party is a minister of the Netherworld Empire, and he has a lot of power in the Netherworld Empire. If they disobeyed, they would disappear from the heavenly boundary continent, just like one of the previous forces. Mansion Lord, what should we do? We don't have many good things. The Great Elder was embarrassed. Although the Heaven's Top Mansion was not poor, they don't have many precious things. Looking at their gifts, each one was stronger than the other. At the very least, they were all high-grade soul tools. Otherwise, the other party would not even be interested in them. The problem is that they don't have any high-grade soul tools, which is embarrassing. They have a few mid-grade soul tools, but they don't have any. It's okay, I still have some stock. He did have high-grade soul tools, he killed those spirit core cultivators before, and they dropped some high-grade soul tools. Some of them were sold, and some were not. He kept all the good ones, and when he returns to Heavenly Jade Sect, he will give them to them. The Great Elder and the others were startled, which made them embarrassed. Although Yi Tianyun is their mansion lord, but now they need his help, which is really embarrassing. Just thinking about it. Our mansion lord is in this state, and we still have to send gifts to the Netherworld Empire. I hate myself for being so weak and insignificant. The Great Elder felt his heart bleeding, this is equivalent to being slapped in the face several times, and he still has to smile. Don't worry, I will make him pay a little price. Yi Tianyun looked at Qing Feng and sneered. Mansion Lord, don't be impulsive. The Great Elder was shocked, he knew that Yi Tianyun is bold, but this is a minister of the Netherworld Empire, if he really makes a move, the Heaven's Top Mansion will be destroyed. Don't worry, I won't be so impulsive. Yi Tianyun is not a fool, he knows who his opponent is. If he was alone, he wouldn't be afraid of trouble, but with Heaven's Top Mansion behind him, he can't do anything. Before they could say anything else, Nan Fengyun walked up to them and handed over a jade box. Lord Cheng, this is a high-grade soul armament, and one with a 5th-grade divine rune inscribed on it. I'm sure you'll be satisfied with it. As he spoke, he opened the jade box. A translucent longsword appeared before his eyes, causing Qing Feng's eyes to brighten. Taking it out, he nodded his head in satisfaction. What an excellent soul weapon. The effect of this 5th-grade divine imprint is to increase damage, right? That's right, it can increase the damage effect by 2 layers. I guarantee you'll be satisfied. Nan Fengyun smiled. In reality, he was feeling the pinch in his heart. This was his sword, but he had given it to Qing Feng. How could he not feel the pinch? The main reason was that it was too sudden. Who would normally prepare a gift? Therefore, many of them brought along their weapons or the spiritual medicine that they were preparing to use. On the surface, he was smiling, but in his heart, he was very unhappy. Ah, not bad. I've heard that the Divine Rune Manor's divine runes are quite good, and it looks like they're quite good. Qing Feng smiled. Ah, there's a spirit realm cultivator in the capital recently. If you have time, I'd like to introduce you to him. A spirit realm cultivator. Nan Fengyun's eyes lit up. Thank you, Lord Qing. Now it was worth it. Many people looked at Nan Fengyun with envy. The Divine Rune Manor lacked divine runes the most, and the spirit realm had a very high level of proficiency in this field. If they could exchange some divine runes with the spirit realm cultivator, they might even be able to obtain a rare divine rune. Nan Fengyun turned to look at Yi Tianyun with a smile. Isn't it Heaven's Top Mansion's turn to send a gift? I wonder what kind of gift Heaven's Top Mansion will send. I've heard that Heaven's Top Mansion has been very tight lately. Many of their students have left Heaven's Top Mansion because of the lack of resources. TSK. If the resources are too poor, they won't be able to retain their hearts. Nan Fengyun naturally won't let go of this opportunity to ridicule Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun knows that his sin value is high enough to attract the hatred of these idiots. Yi Tianyun's expression was indifferent. He lifted his foot and walked forward. Everyone's eyes were focused on him. They were wondering why he personally sent the gift instead of the Great Elder. The mansion lord didn't come, which was already very impolite, let alone a disciple who came with gifts. Many people thought that Heaven's Top Mansion was finished. As Qing Feng, how could he not know the situation of Heaven's Top Mansion? The mansion lord was tortured half to death. Heaven's Top Mansion is very bold. Nan Fengyun saw that it was Yi Tianyun who sent the gift. Nan Fengyun said coldly, the mansion lord didn't come, it's disrespectful to Lord Qing. Now even the Great Elder is not willing to send the gift. What the hell is the meaning of this? Nan Fengyun was like Qing Feng's lackey, and she started to complain on his behalf. Qing Feng's face was also ugly. He knew the situation of Heaven's Top Mansion. But when he saw Yi Tianyun send the gift, he was very dissatisfied. I don't mean anything, I am the mansion lord, is there a problem? Yi Tianyun said indifferently, he said it openly on this occasion. Everyone was shocked, including the Great Elder. They didn't expect that Yi Tianyun would say it in this place. What? You are the mansion lord? Nan Fengyun was stunned. He immediately looked at the Great Elder and asked, Elder of Heaven's Top Mansion, is he your mansion lord? Yes, he is our mansion lord. The Great Elder said firmly. He didn't feel that there was anything to be ashamed of. After confirming it, these words exploded like a clap of thunder. Everyone was shocked. No wonder the Great Elder didn't come forward. It turns out that this young man in front of them is the mansion lord of Heaven's Top Mansion. Nan Fengyun laughed, Heaven's Top Mansion, oh Heaven's Top Mansion. You've really fallen. Even a fool like him is your Heaven's Top Mansion. What does that have to do with you? Yi Tianyun ignored Nan Fengyun. This made Nan Fengyun angry. He wanted to make a move, but Qing Feng was right in front of him. He walked up to Qing Feng and took out a high-grade soul armament. Cold air began to radiate from his body as he explained, this is the Glacial Divine Sword, a high-grade soul armament. Please accept it, Lord Qing. The sword didn't look bad, but the fact that the Heaven's Top Mansion could take out a high-grade soul armament meant that the Heaven's Top Mansion wasn't as bad as the rumors said. Not bad, not bad. This weapon is not bad at all compared to the gift Nan Fengyun gave me. I'll accept it. Qing Feng nodded. Becoming a mansion lord at such a young age. Looks like you have a bright future ahead of you. Thank you for the compliment, Lord Cheng. Yi Tianyun clasped his hands together with a smile. With a flick of his wrist, a beam of light shot into Ching Feng's body. No one saw it, not even Ching Feng himself. The thing he flicked out wasn't anything good. It was the bad luck divine pill from a long time ago. He didn't know what to do with it, but he didn't know how effective it would be. Chapter 235. Most of them weren't interested in the treasures that Yi Tianyun offered, but they were more interested in the fact that Yi Tianyun was the mansion lord. No wonder Yi Tianyun was standing in front of the crowd and speaking on behalf of Heaven's top mansion. They didn't expect that he was actually the mansion lord of Heaven's top mansion. This was something that no one expected. Yu Shiqian and the others were dumbfounded. How could he become the mansion lord at such a young age? Many people suspected that Yi Tianyun was the mansion lord's son, or did he have such a powerful background? Otherwise, how could he become the mansion lord at such a young age? In some places, the mansion lord's position was held by the Grand Elder, but it was true that the mansion lord didn't have much power. When he grew up and became familiar with the situation, he would be able to grasp the real power. But from the previous situation, it is obvious that Yi Tianyun has the real power, and he has the absolute right to speak, which makes them unable to figure out what is going on. They didn't even think about Yi Tianyun's strength. How strong could he be at such a young age? It's not their fault, they can't see Yi Tianyun's strength, as long as he doesn't release any aura, they really can't tell. Unless they reach out and probe Yi Tianyun's body, they really can't detect his strength. No wonder he came with Heaven's top mansion. I didn't expect him to be the mansion lord. Li Tianlong's eyes flashed with interest. But most of them were just interested. Most of them had the same thought as Nan Fengyun. If he became the mansion lord of Heaven's top mansion at such a young age, it could only mean that Heaven's top mansion was declining. Yi Tianyun just smiled and didn't care about other people's eyes. Soon, he returned to his area and waited for the bad luck divine pill's effect to activate. Nan Fengyun looked at the ice frost divine sword that Yi Tianyun gave him. This was a slap in his face. Before, he said that Yi Tianyun wouldn't have any treasures. He didn't expect that Yi Tianyun would really take it out. Lord Cheng, my weapon is much stronger than this. After all, my weapon has a 5th grade divine rune, while his doesn't even have one. Nan Fengyun sneered, how about this, why don't we have some fun beforehand? Let's see how strong the new mansion lord of Heaven's top mansion is. At the same time, we can test the power of their weapons. Cheng Feng smiled and said, this is a good proposal. I also want to see the new mansion lord of Heaven's top mansion. To be able to ascend to the position of manor head at such a young age, it was likely that his abilities were not low. Then it's decided. We'll treat it as a show to liven things up. Manor Lord Yi, do you have any objections? Below the stage, Yi Tianyun's expression was calm. This Nan Fengyun was trying to set him up, humiliate him, and use this opportunity to slap his face. No problem. Yi Tianyun smiled lightly. Since Manor Lord Yi has no objections, we can begin now. Nan Fengyun smiled and said, I don't want to take advantage of you. You can't choose someone who is too old. Today, I brought an excellent disciple with me. Let's see how strong the new mansion lord is. What he said was very interesting. If Yi Tianyun lost, it means that the new mansion lord of Heaven's top mansion can also be their disciple. Zheng Wu, you're up. Nan Fengyun said to his disciple. At the same time, he threw his weapon over to Yi Tianyun's side. Then, a young man jumped up and caught the long sword. He slowly descended from the air, looking very elegant. Then, he came to the designated area. With his hands behind his back, his white robe fluttered in the wind. He looked at Yi Tianyun with disdain. His cultivation is not low. He has reached 6th level core condensation. Considering his age, he can be regarded as a very good disciple. But this young man is a few years older than Yi Tianyun. This made many sects frown. You can't choose someone who is too old. This is simply too old. They are not on the same level at all. But among the people brought by Nan Fengyun, he is indeed the youngest one. Mansion Lord Yi, this is your weapon. Catch it. Nan Fengyun took the Ice Frost Divine Sword that Yi Tianyun gave to him and threw it at Yi Tianyun. Like a sharp arrow, it pierced towards Yi Tianyun's side. Nan Fengyun obviously wanted to trick Yi Tianyun. If Yi Tianyun can't catch it, then he can't blame Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun lightly stepped on his feet and flew up. He stretched out his hand and lightly flicked the sword blade. The Ice Divine Sword turned a circle in the air, and he easily grabbed the hilt of the sword, and then slowly fell down. Yi Tianyun didn't feel any difficulty at all. Can we start now? Yi Tianyun's move made many people applaud. It seems that he has some skills. Humph. Nan Fengyun's eyes flickered and immediately said to Qing Feng, swords have no eyes on the stage. If there is blood, please don't take it to heart. It's okay. I know that swords have no eyes. If I don't have any courage, how can I fight on the battlefield? Qing Feng laughed and didn't care at all. This meant that he was authorized to attack at will, even killing someone was not a problem. If that's the case, then Zheng Wu, show your true strength and show Qing Feng your strength. Nan Fengyun squinted his eyes and smiled. He immediately looked at Yi Tianyun and said, Mansion Lord Yi, please show your strength too. If you lose, it won't look good. Zheng Wu is just an ordinary disciple of our divine rune mansion. The last sentence is equivalent to saying that if a dignified mansion lord loses to an ordinary disciple, it means that heaven's top mansion is rotten. If I lose, then I won't be qualified to be the mansion lord of heaven's top mansion. Yi Tianyun said lightly. As soon as these words came out, many people were shocked. This was really a bit of determination. But many people shook their heads. Yi Tianyun looked too young. His cultivation should not be high. It was a pity that he fell into Nan Fengyun's trap. Only the great elder's eyes flickered. Dealing with Zheng Wu was not difficult at all. If he lost, he wouldn't be qualified to be the mansion lord. You're ambitious. Then let me see if you have the qualifications to be the mansion lord. Nan Fengyun's eyes flashed with a cold light. Following this order, Zheng Wu wielded his sword and shot forward like a sharp ray of light, leaving a trail of cold light in the air. The 5th grade divine inscriptions on the long sword flickered incessantly, releasing a dazzling light. In an instant, the power of the long sword had increased by 2 levels. This was the power of the 5th grade divine rune. The higher the cultivation, the more powerful it would be. Judging from Zheng Wu's cultivation, he could already fight above his cultivation. Chapter 236. Sister, who do you think will win? Zhao Yu's eyes twinkled. I'm guessing Zheng Wu will win. I think that Mansion Lord Yi is quite calm. Maybe he has a higher chance of winning. Yu Shiqian said while looking at Yi Tianyun. Maybe he's faking it. Look at him, he's not moving at all. Maybe he's scared out of his wits. Zhao Yu smiled. Why don't we make a bet? If Zheng Wu wins, you can come with me to see Mr. Hua next time. You want me to go with you to see young Master Hua? Can't you go alone? Yu Shiqian rolled her eyes. If I go alone? I'm a little embarrassed. Zhao Yu smiled. All right then. If you win, I'll go with you. But if you lose, you have to train with me. Yu Shiqian smiled. Ah. Sister, you're training too crazily. Zhao Yu said helplessly. But I won't lose. I've always been a good judge of character. Many people didn't want to see what would happen next. Yi Tianyun held the Ice Frost Divine Sword in his hand and stood still, waiting for Zheng Wu to attack. He looked like he was in a daze. Yi Tianyun didn't usually take the initiative to attack because his opponent didn't have the right to make him take the initiative to attack. Die. Zheng Wu's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He was aiming at Yi Tianyun's weak spot. He was going to kill him without mercy. The 5th grade divine inscription on his sword shone brighter and brighter. It was getting stronger and stronger. At the moment when he was ready to stab Yi Tianyun, he suddenly waved the ice divine sword in his hand and swung it forward heavily, and then the weapon collided head-on. Clang! A clear cracking sound rang out and Zheng Wu felt as though his arm was on the verge of breaking. For a moment, he lost his grip and the sword in his hand was knocked away. The next moment, Yi Tianyun's body suddenly turned around, and like a fierce tiger, he aimed at Zheng Wu's body and kicked him. Bang! Zheng Wu was sent flying with a single kick. He turned into a shooting star, flying over the heads of many people before smashing heavily into the wall. With a slight tremble, he slid down from the wall and fell limply to the ground. His aura rapidly weakened to the point that it was almost inaudible. The long sword that was sent flying spun dozens of times in the air before stabbing down. The sharp tip of the sword pierced into the ground. Half of the sword's body was embedded in the ground, which was enough to show how sharp this long sword was. He had killed Zheng Wu in a single move. It was not difficult at all. Dealing with these small fries was not interesting at all. Successfully killed Zheng Wu. Reward, 170. 000 EXP, 2600 Crazy Point, 30 SPs, 500 Divine Rune Proficiency. Obtained Heavenly Divine Finger, Qi Condensation Manual. Zheng Wu had been kicked to death by him. Although he hadn't used all of his power, his attack had struck Zheng Wu's vitals. How could he not die? Everyone was shocked. Nan Fengyun was even more dumbfounded. Zheng Wu's cultivation was definitely not weak. He didn't expect him to be killed so easily. Many people present were dumbfounded. Although Zheng Wu's cultivation wasn't very high, he was at least at 6th level core condensation. But now, Yi Tianyun easily killed him, which made them dumbfounded. This was something they didn't expect at all. It meant that Yi Tianyun's cultivation was a lot higher than Zheng Wu. But in their opinion, Zheng Wu was too careless, which led to him being killed so easily. Little sister, you've lost. You can accompany me to cultivate now. Yu Shiqian covered her mouth and chuckled. How is this possible? That mansion Lord Yi is so strong. He looks like he's only 16 or 17 years old, but he's already at core condensation. Zhao Yu was stunned. Qing Feng and the others thought so. Even if Yi Tianyun was at core condensation, he shouldn't be that strong. However, the truth was right before his eyes. He had easily killed Zheng Wu. There had not even been much competition between their weapons. Nan Fengyun's face was gloomy. He didn't expect this result. The guard next to him was the one who protected Lin Feng. He said a few words to Nan Fengyun. Nan Fengyun's face changed. Why didn't you say so before? Trash. Yi Tianyun didn't hear what they were talking about, but he could guess that they were talking about his strength. He was able to send that guard flying with a kick, which meant that his cultivation was definitely not low. He didn't expect that they didn't communicate clearly. Nan Fengyun thought that sending a core condensation cultivator would be enough to defeat Yi Tianyun. It seemed that he was too naive. Mansion Lord Nan, I wonder if I am qualified to be the Mansion Lord? Yi Tianyun said coldly. You are qualified to be the Mansion Lord. Nan Fengyun said it through gritted teeth. He couldn't send more people. After all, it was just a show to liven things up, so he could only send one person for one match. If he sent more people, he would have to send an elder-level figure. The age gap between them was too big. Even if Nan Fengyun was thick-skinned, he couldn't really send more people. Clap, 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 Qing Feng applauded. He looked at Yi Tianyun coldly. Not bad, not bad. You're really a young hero. It's really unexpected for you to have such cultivation at such a young age. Heaven's top mansion cultivated you. This is a great achievement. You will definitely become a great person in the future. But the effect of the weapon hasn't been shown yet, right? It seems that Mansion Lord E can still hold on. How about we continue to send people to challenge him? I wonder if there are any outstanding disciples of similar age present who would like to spar with Prefecture Master Yi. Let us continue to witness Prefecture Master Yi's abilities. Qing Feng's words shocked a lot of people. Isn't it obvious that he was targeting Heaven's top mansion? They didn't know what Heaven's top mansion had done. They didn't know, but how could Yi Tianyun not know? They killed so many shadow guards. How could Qing Feng not hold a grudge against them? Qing Feng was using other forces to suppress them. Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold. Why hasn't the bad luck divine pill taken effect yet? Why hasn't the bad luck divine pill taken effect yet? Hurry up and take effect. Ding! Bad luck divine pill's effect is activated for 5 minutes. Chapter 237. After the bad luck divine pill was activated, Qing Feng's body released circles of light. Other than Yi Tianyun, no one else could see it clearly. This meant that the bad luck divine pill was officially activated. As for the effect, it depended on the result. I agree with Lord Cheng's suggestion. The weapon's effect has not been tested yet. Nan Fengyun looked at Yi Tianyun and smiled. What do you think, Mansion Lord Yi? Although Nan Fengyun couldn't send anyone to help him, he still wanted to see Yi Tianyun being crippled or defeated by someone else. Just now, his subordinate reported Zheng Wu's death. Nan Fengyun was so angry that he was about to explode. However, he had already said that swords had no eyes. If he said it out loud, he would be slapping himself in the face. Hence, he could only swallow his anger. I'm fine with it. Yi Tianyun didn't have a problem. He would kill as many as he wanted. As expected of the Heaven's top mansion's Mansion Lord. I believe that with Mansion Lord Yi's ability, you will be able to deal with it easily. Nan Fengyun's eyes were cold. He walked towards the weapon and wanted to pull it out. Just as Nan Fengyun was about to walk back, Qing Feng, who was behind him, suddenly fell forward and crashed into Nan Fengyun's back. Dong! Both of them fell to the ground at the same time. Nan Fengyun fell forward and fell on his face. Qing Feng directly pressed down on his body, and the two of them just stuck together like that, intimately. Many people were dumbfounded. What's going on with Qing Feng? This is an accident, an accident. Qing Feng quickly got up and looked down to see that his boots were broken. No wonder he fell. Nan Fengyun also got up. He didn't expect this to happen. It was so sudden that he didn't even have time to react. When he saw Qing Feng, he quickly stood up and helped him up. But just as he helped, Nan Fengyun slipped and both of them fell together again. This time, it was an exaggeration. Qing Feng directly pressed down, and the two's mouths were stuck together. Yu Shiqian and the others widened their eyes in shock. A man kissing another man. This shocked many people, and no one was envious of them. Ba ba ba. Qing Feng's embarrassment turned into anger. He slapped Nan Fengyun's chest and bounced up. He never thought he would kiss a guy. Nan Fengyun was even more dumbfounded. She did not expect to see such a disgusting scene in front of so many people. It was so embarrassing. Cough cough, this is all an accident, an accident. Bring me some water. Qing Feng really wanted to rinse his mouth. The guard beside him hurriedly brought a cup of water over. Qing Feng quickly took the wine cup and poured it into his mouth. After drinking 2 mouthfuls, he wanted to spit it out, but he swallowed it and even choked himself. Cough, 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 he coughed violently and lost his composure. He raised his hand and slapped him. Bastard! What kind of wine did you bring me? It tastes so bad. The guard couldn't even dodge the slap. He could only take it head-on. But before the slap could reach him, a tearing sound could be heard. Due to the force of the slap, the sleeve of the guard was torn open. Half of his fat was exposed, and the only thing that hit the guard was his sleeve. With this swing, his center of gravity became unstable again, and he fell to the side, falling onto the bodyguard behind him. Puchi. For some reason, the guard's sword pierced through Ching Feng's body, easily piercing through him. Ching Feng's body was not weak, but the guard's sword was at least a low-tier soul armament. As long as they weren't prepared, the sword could easily pierce through their bodies. Ah! The intense pain caused Ching Feng to cry out in pain. He thought that it was just a simple fall, but he didn't expect that he would fall on his sword and be pierced through. The guard who was being used as a cushion panicked. He didn't think that something like this would happen. The guards at the side hurriedly surrounded Ching Feng, wanting to help him up. Who would have thought that Ching Feng would raise his head and stop them? No need, I'll do it myself. Ching Feng gritted his teeth and stood up. His chest had been pierced by a long sword. He quickly pulled it out, and a stream of blood spurted out. Fortunately, it wasn't a vital point. Under his healing, the wound quickly stopped bleeding. The most important thing was that it was too humiliating. How could he not be humiliated after causing such a scene in front of so many people? He threw the long sword to the side and took out a bottle of pills from his storage ring. He directly stuffed it into his mouth without even looking at it. He didn't expect that not long after he ate it, his face would turn black. He opened his mouth and spat out black blood, staining the ground in front of him. Poison pills. Everyone immediately knew what the problem was. Ching Feng had mistakenly taken the poison pills as healing pills. Instead, it made his condition worse. But his cultivation wasn't weak. He quickly suppressed the effects of the poison and quickly took out things from his storage ring. But the things he took out one after another were not what he wanted. First, he took out the treasures that the crowd had offered. After taking out a few items, he finally took out a bottle of pills. This time, he carefully looked at it before consuming it. Very quickly, the poison in his body was neutralized. But his face became extremely pale and his head was a little dizzy. Obviously, the poison was not weak. If the poison was too weak, why would he bring it with him? Although he didn't know what it was for, it was definitely not weak. This is all a little unexpected. Ching Feng's head was dizzy. He lost his balance and fell to the side. Bang! He fell heavily and rolled a few times before crashing into a ray of cold light. At this moment, a sharp light slashed over and pierced into his back. Accompanied by a scream, he rolled half a circle to the side. Everyone saw that his back had been slashed by a sharp long sword. This long sword didn't belong to anyone. It was the one that Nan Fengyun had offered to him. With the addition of a 5th-grade divine rune, the damage was even more obvious. Half of the long sword's blade had pierced into his body, and his arm was almost cut off. Many people sucked in a breath of cold air. They didn't know whether to help or not. Yi Tianyun, who was watching from the side, wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. There was only one thought in his mind. Bad luck divine pill. It was really a divine pill. It seemed like Ching Feng was going to die soon. This divine pill is too powerful. A dignified core transformation expert was turned into a ghost. I don't know if he will die or not. Yi Tianyun shook his head. He really wanted to die. Chapter 238. Ching Feng's consecutive mistakes had truly broadened their horizons. They had never seen someone make so many mistakes before. In the end, he was even stabbed by a sword. It was even more miserable than before. Nan Fengyun's face changed. This is his weapon. If he pursues it, he doesn't know if he will blame him. Not only was he kissed, but he also has to suffer. Everyone wanted to help him up, but they didn't dare to help him up. If something bad happened, how can they solve it? Fortunately, Ching Feng was a bit stronger. After taking a few breaths, he stopped the bleeding and pulled out the long sword behind him. Blood spurted out and sprinkled on the ground. He sucked in a deep breath of cold air and swallowed a few healing pills. His wound quickly stopped bleeding. However, the wounds still looked shocking. Fortunately, he had suppressed it himself. If someone had deliberately slashed at him, half of Cheng Feng's body would have been gone. Cheng Feng didn't move, he just meditated in the same place. At the same time, he was very vigilant to see if there are any sharp things around. If he continued to fall, he would be dead. Ding! Bad luck divine pills effect ended. At this time, the halos around Ching Feng's body disappeared, except for Yi Tianyun. No one can see it. It's a pity, it only lasted for 5 minutes, otherwise he would be half dead. In just a short 5 minutes, Ching Feng was already like this. If it was delayed for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, he would probably be left with his last breath. When his luck was at its worst, even if he stood still, someone would still touch him. But the effect is gone, unless he buys another one. Bad Luck Divine Pill is available in the mall, but the price is not low. It costs 100,000 crazy points. Although it can make him unlucky again, he feels that the effect is limited. He won't be able to kill him completely. The life of a core transformation realm expert is still very hard. It is already very good to be able to do this. The main reason is that the surrounding environment is limited. If it is used in a very dangerous place, it can really kill him. Now the surrounding situation is relatively normal. At most he will be injured. It is difficult to kill him. However, if Yi Tianyun wanted his life, he didn't need this bad luck divine pill. Yi Tianyun could do it himself. However, this effect is really strong. One day, I'll draw another bunch and see if I can get more unlucky divine pills. In the future, I'll throw them to whoever I don't like. A long time ago, when Yi Tianyun had drawn this bad luck divine pill, he had thought that its effects were ordinary, but now it seemed that he was wrong. The effects were extremely strong. It could be said to be shocking. If there was a day that he didn't like someone and couldn't attack him, he could just throw out a bad luck divine pill and no one would notice. The atmosphere of the entire venue was very heavy, even a little funny, or a little awkward. Everyone didn't know what to say. They all looked at Ching Feng, wanting to laugh but not daring to. He was simply too unlucky. Very soon, Ching Feng's injuries were almost half healed after a little relief. At the very least, the bleeding had stopped. After resting for a while, he would be able to recover. He very cautiously stood up and took 2 steps. This time, he didn't slip or fall, and there was nothing that flew over to attack him. Only then did he relax a little. He raised his head and looked at the crowd, making him extremely embarrassed. What happened today, all of you? Don't tell anyone. Yes, Lord Cheng. Someone immediately reacted, but whether it was not to tell anyone, this was not clear. In any case, it was just a verbal promise. Rest for today, we'll talk about it in a few days. Cheng Feng thought for a while, then said, all of you stay in this palace, our netherworld empire will treat you well. His originally arrogant attitude was now more than half gone. Treating them well was to shut their mouths. Originally, he wanted to announce some things, but now that such a thing happened, he really didn't know what to say, so he let them stay for the time being. Lord, these weapons. The guard pointed at the weapon that Nan Fengyun gave him. There was still Ching Feng's blood on it. Whoever wants it can take it, but don't show it in front of me in the future. I get annoyed just looking at it. After saying that, he waved his hand and walked into the palace. He didn't even bother to look at the weapon, he felt that it was a jinx. On the way back, he didn't let anyone near him, and he was constantly paying attention to the sides and under his feet. He was 100 times more cautious than usual. He was afraid of what just happened. Thank you, Lord. The guard hurriedly picked it up. This was a top-grade treasure, they naturally couldn't miss it. The blood on it could be used after a little cleaning, it definitely wouldn't be lost. Ching Feng thought that he was a jinx, but they didn't think that he was one. Nan Fengyun's face was so gloomy that it looked like a storm was about to happen. That was his sword that he often used, and now it was taken away by a guard, but he couldn't take it back. How could he take back something that was given out? In theory, it already belonged to Ching Feng. Ching Feng could give it to whoever he wanted, he really had no right to interfere. Lord, I will now arrange a room for you, come over here. One by one, the guards came over and led them to the room. Before leaving, Nan Fengyun looked at them coldly, and a trace of killing intent flashed past his eyes. Then he left, and the guards went to arrange a room for them. Yi Tianyun also arranged a room for them, but it was obviously not a VIP room, it was a very ordinary room for servants. Apart from their heaven's top mansion, the other forces arranged a VIP room, but only their room was not. This immediately made Mu Xian, angry. Grandpa, they are discriminating against us, they arranged a servant room for me, it looks different, it's too simple and crude. Not only did they arrange a servant room for us, they even gave us a high-grade soul tool, if it was outside, I don't know how many VIP rooms we could have booked. Although they could all meditate and cultivate, and didn't need to sleep, how could they not be angry that they were only given one room? Not only Mu Xian, the great elder's face was also not good, it was definitely not because the room was not enough, but because they specially arranged a room for them. Originally, attending this banquet was not a good result, they just wanted to show their strength. Our heaven's top mansion is the weakest force, so naturally, the treatment is the worst. The great elder sighed, this is still within his expectation. We killed so many of their people, it would be a problem for them to give us a good face. Yi Tianyun said indifferently, I guess they are observing our situation, they even sent people to investigate the situation of heaven's top mansion, they want to know what kind of helpers we have. So, the previous mansion lord he. The great elder's face changed. It's okay, they won't do anything, if they want to do something, they would have already done it. Yi Tianyun said indifferently, what they need is enlistment, they can kill so many shadow guards, they think we have a helper, or a strong person to help us. What they needed was a top-notch expert, not a declining sect. If they refuse, they will die. If they agree, they will die. Chapter 239. The Netherworld Empire didn't immediately send people to destroy Heaven's top mansion because of the hidden strength of Heaven's top mansion. If they don't have a good grasp of the situation, they won't act rashly. The best way was to recruit them. This way, they would have more power. This was the best choice. The reason why they let the second elder betray the Netherworld Empire was to become their puppets. Although the Heaven's top mansion has declined, they still have a certain amount of power, and they can be trained to be a powerful helper. No one will complain about their own power, the bigger the better. Who would have thought that the shadow guards they sent out would suddenly all die, causing them to be greatly shocked? They had some thoughts about this sudden power. It's best to control this power, but if they can't control it, then they will kill it. It's not difficult for them to kill people, it's just a matter of eliminating them. There are a lot of core transformation realm cultivators in the Netherworld Empire, so they just need to send out a few of them. But this is not the best result for them. The best way is to bring them into the camp and use them for their own use. I'll go out first, you guys stay here. Yi Tianyun said after thinking for a moment. Understood, Mansion Lord. They wanted to ask, but in the end, Yi Tianyun has his own plan, so they didn't ask. After Yi Tianyun went out, he immediately sensed the gaze of the guards around him, and when they saw him coming out, they came up to him and said, What's the matter? Nothing, I just want to go out for a walk. Yi Tianyun said with a smile. There is a curfew outside, please go back to your room. The guard replied coldly. Yi Tianyun felt helpless, it seems that the treatment here is really bad. It's impossible to walk around here, so he can only go back to his room. Mansion Lord, this. They saw Yi Tianyun came back and felt very strange. I can't go out outside, so I have to go out from another place. Yi Tianyun looked up at the ceiling and leaped up. Then, he gently lifted the tiles and disappeared from the room in a flash. They couldn't see him clearly from below. Grandfather, how exactly does the Manor Lord cultivate? Mu Xian looked at the silhouette of Yi Tianyun as he left and felt extremely shocked. I'm not sure either. The great elder shook his head. This was the first time he had seen such a monstrous genius. After exiting, Yi Tianyun activated stealth, completely concealing himself in the darkness. Looking around, there were still quite a number of spies staring at this place. However, no matter how hard they looked, they couldn't see Yi Tianyun's figure. Yi Tianyun's cultivation was much stronger than theirs, so they didn't have to worry about being seen through unless they got very close. The place he was heading to this time was naturally the place where Qing Feng lived. There was nothing more to say. What needed to be solved still needed to be solved. Once he got rid of Qing Feng completely, enlistment would be a fart. Soon, he quickly rushed forward, avoiding the spies. When he landed on the roof of a room, he heard a roar. That bastard, I didn't expect him to be a mansion lord. If it wasn't for the fact that we can't fight at will, I would have already killed him on the field. What heaven's top mansion, it's just a piece of trash. Nan Fengyun's voice came from the room. This was not a secret, so he said it quite loudly. They were also not allowed to go out at will, so they were all locked in this room and surrounded by many spies. The difference was that they lived in the VIP room, which had a lot of rooms, so the treatment was not bad. Obviously, his weapon hurt Qing Feng, so he didn't complain. Mansion Lord, please calm down. We can't fight here. Once it's over, we can go out and wipe them out. One of the elders sneered. I heard that this kid is a guest of the Star Pavilion, and he has the standard of a 4th-grade Divine Rune Master. That's unexpected. He's so young, and he has the standard of a 4th-grade Divine Rune Master. No wonder he can become the Mansion Lord. But I don't think he can stay in this position for long. When this is over, it will be their time to die. Nan Fengyun's eyes were full of killing intent. As long as one wasn't blind, he could see that Nan Fengyun was completely angry, and he was determined to eradicate the heaven's top mansion. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed, and the corner of his mouth curved into a sneer. If you want to get rid of us, let's see if you have the ability to do so. He didn't go down to kill them, because now was not the right time, so it was better not to do so. If he exposed his strength, he would lose a trump card. Immediately, he left the place. His target tonight was not Nan Fengyun, but Qing Feng. Soon, he arrived at the depths of the palace. Although there were many spies around, he easily avoided them. Unless they were spies at the core transformation stage or above, he could easily avoid them. This should be the place. Yi Tianyun's figure flashed, and he arrived at the inner palace. He didn't even get close to it, but he heard a roar coming from inside. I told you not to get so close to me, did you hear me? Stay away from me, don't get so close to me. Cheng Feng's voice came. He didn't expect that he would still be so worried. Once bitten, twice shy. He was completely frightened. He estimated that he would need a few days to fully recover. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed, and he took out the 100 transformation mask and put it on his face. At the same time, he tied a black cloth to cover his face. Then he quickly skimmed over the ceiling, and arrived at the top of the room to observe the situation. This is the information you collected? Qing Feng took a pile of papers, and after flipping through them, he threw them at the shadow guard in front of him. It's all rubbish. There is no useful information, especially the Heaven's Top Mansion. I can't find anything. I really can't find any trace of an expert in the Heaven's Top Mansion. I only saw a mansion lord who lost his cultivation. Other than that, I can't find any clues. The shadow guard was hit by the stack of papers, and he couldn't dodge. If there were no experts, how could they have killed so many shadow guards that I had arranged? Cheng Feng's eyes were full of killing intent. They killed so many of my shadow guards, I can't wait to kill them. If it wasn't for the higher-ups who said to investigate the situation and see if they can be recruited, they would have already destroyed the heaven's top mansion. I have so many shadow guards, and puppets. If they can't be recruited, then it's useless to say anything. In his anger, he picked up another chair and smashed it towards the shadow guard, smashing it into pieces with a pang. Forget it, I'm too lazy to investigate. Go and capture the Heaven's Top Mansion's trash mansion lord, and force the so-called mysterious expert out. I thought I could see the mysterious expert this time, but I didn't expect to see an arrogant kid. Qing Feng said angrily. No matter how strong the opponent is, I don't believe that he is stronger than our Netherworld Empire. Even if he is a dragon, he has to bow down to me. Chapter 240. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. Sure enough, it was just like what he thought. They wanted to recruit them, otherwise, they would really send an army to their doorstep. The reason why they were invited to this banquet was to see the true face of the mysterious strong man. Who would have thought that the strong man was actually Yi Tianyun? Although the cultivation of the shadow guards was not high, they were still at the level of spirit core. It took a lot of resources to train them. How could Qing Feng not be angry when so many of them died? However, he really didn't expect that these shadow guards were trained by Qing Feng. This was a little out of his expectations. Sir, can't we just kill them? The shadow guard said, even if they have some value, if we can't use them, it's meaningless. It's better to destroy them, then Heaven's Top Mansion will belong to us. Bullshit. You think I don't want to do that? Qing Feng shouted, now we are short of power. The Heavenly Dragon Empire has been suppressing us, and the Spirit Clan has not been completely suppressed. The higher-ups still have some hope for Heaven's Top Mansion. They think that we have interfered too much and provoked their anger. Heaven's Top Mansion is declining, as long as we give them some benefits, they will definitely come to us. But they killed so many of my shadow guards, I can't swallow this anger. If we don't show them our strength, they will think that our Netherworld Empire is afraid of them. As he spoke, he picked up another chair and threw it to the side. He was now smashing things to vent his anger. What if they resist? The shadow guard asked. Then kill them all. Leave no one alive. I will tell the higher-ups that Heaven's Top Mansion and Heaven's Top Mansion are the same. Qing Feng said coldly, only death awaits them if they resist our Netherworld Empire. They are a bunch of trash. If they don't want to surrender, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Yes. The shadow guard didn't hesitate and nodded. His figure became fainter and disappeared from the room. He was ready to go to Heaven's Top Mansion to capture those people. They wanted to force out the strong cultivator from Heaven's Top Mansion and give them one last chance. Just as the shadow guard stepped out of the door, a figure silently appeared behind him. Waving a sharp blade, it easily pierced through the shadow guard's heart. At the same time, he swiftly covered the shadow guard's mouth, not allowing him to make a sound. His eyes widened, and his body struggled a little, but how could he break free from Yi Tianyun's strength? In the end, his body went limp, and he collapsed on top of Yi Tianyun. Ding! Successfully killed Shadow Guard. Reward, 250,000 EXP, 3200 Crazy Point, 50 SPs. Obtained Martial Art Dark Shadow Steps. The sin value was not low, it was a full 50 points, it was enough to show how many people these Shadow Guards had killed. It should be said that there was no one in the Netherworld Empire who was not stained with blood. As for how much blood was shed by innocent people, no one knew. After Yi Tianyun defeated the Shadow Guard, he placed him to one side. His eyes flickered for a moment and he quickly stripped off the Shadow Guard's clothes and put them on himself. Wearing this black veil, he looked no different from a Shadow Guard, there wasn't much difference. Dark Shadow Steps. Yi Tianyun used Dark Shadow Steps, which is the exclusive martial art of Shadow Guards, and quickly disappeared in place. Not long after he stepped into the room, Qing Feng, who was sitting there drinking tea, looked at Yi Tianyun and said, "What's the situation?" Sure enough, it's easy to detect Yi Tianyun's location. Their spiritual power is very sensitive, so they can easily detect Yi Tianyun's location. Qing Feng is not an ordinary person. Ordinary people can't be a minister. In fact, it doesn't matter what position he has, a core transformation stage cultivation is enough to explain everything. It's just that he is a greedy person. It is clear that he came to Yi Tianyun's birthday. Yi Tianyun looked up, and detailed information appeared in front of him. Qing Feng, cultivation level 5 of core transformation stage. Not wearing any protective gear. Overall combat power is 1.9 million. Weakness, left arm, injury, can't move easily. Martial arts, heaven shaking palm, golden body secrets, etc. Killed may drop heaven shaking palm, high-grade earth level martial art, golden body secrets, high-grade earth level martial art, rare, 20 times experience card, rare, spirit clan prison key. After Yi Tianyun probed, he was shocked by the data. As expected of a core transformation expert, he didn't wear any protective gear or any weapon, and he already reached almost 2 million combat power. At that time, Evil Blood Ancestors' combat power was only more than 2 million. If he uses his full strength, it can be imagined how terrifying it will be. Among them, he saw the golden body secrets. Obviously, he has the golden body secrets, so he doesn't wear any armor. As for the weakness, it is created by him, and the injury has not recovered, so it must be a weakness. If he uses the golden body secrets, he probably won't be injured, but before he uses the golden body secrets, he really can't bear the damage of this high-grade soul weapon. How strong must his body be to be able to bear the attack of this weapon without using any martial arts? But the Spirit Clan prison key made him a little stunned, and this guy also dropped it. What's wrong? What's the matter? Qing Feng frowned and looked at him, feeling a little strange. Yi Tianyun came in and didn't speak. Master, there is still an important matter that has not been reported. Yi Tianyun lowered his voice, imitating the previous Shadow Guard's voice, not completely similar, but at least half similar. What's the matter? Say it. Qing Feng didn't seem to hear it, mainly because Yi Tianyun just used the Shadow Step, a unique skill that only Shadow Guards can use, others can't imitate it. Yes, Master. Yi Tianyun took out a piece of paper from his arms, which was originally in the Shadow Guard's hands, but the content of the paper was a list of secret tasks to be done, such as killing a person from a family. He took the paper and walked over, but before he took a few steps, Qing Feng stretched out his hand to stop him and said, "Don't come over, didn't I just say, don't come near me? Just throw that information to me." Yi Tianyun stopped in his tracks. If he attacked from such a distance, the difficulty would increase exponentially, and there was no way for him to launch a sneak attack. He didn't expect the bad luck divine pill to slightly hinder his sneak attack plan. Helpless, Yi Tianyun could only throw the paper over. It floated in the air and landed in Qing Feng's hands. Chapter 241. When Qing Feng picked up the paper and lowered his head to look at the content, he was the least vigilant. Because his attention was focused on the paper, he would not notice himself. At the moment of preparation, Yi Tianyun instantly activated all his power, without holding back. Crazy damage mode, activate. With a loud bang, his combat power skyrocketed in a straight line, soaring 8 times in an instant. 1.5 million. 1.8 million. 2 million. 3 million. 3.5 million. 3.9 million. Finally, it stopped when it was about 4 million. The moment it erupted, he had already rushed over. Qing Feng immediately sensed that something was wrong and looked in their direction. At this moment, Yi Tianyun's hands flashed, and a frost fist erupted. The extreme cold exploded. In an instant, Qing Feng was frozen. Although it could not freeze him for a long time, for him, as long as he could freeze him for a few seconds, he would be the winner. Die! In the blink of an eye, Yi Tianyun had already rushed in front of Qing Feng. He waved the blood dragon bone blade in his hand and stabbed at his heart. The violent power set off a huge wave, slapping behind him. It was much stronger than when he was dealing with the blood fiend patriarch. It even caused a huge blood dragon phantom to appear, and it pierced through Qing Feng's chest. Open! Qing Feng roared. The freezing effect could not last for a second at all, and he broke free. In the next moment, he burst out with all his strength. His whole body flashed with a golden light. It could be said that in an instant, his whole body was plated with a layer of gold. The surging metal spiritual power surged in all directions, forming a special space around his body. Because it was too sudden, he could only catch the weapon with his bare hands. Yi Tianyun was not surprised. He completely ignored the palm in front of him and slashed at it. He. When the blood dragon bone blades stabbed him, it made an ear-piercing sound when it came into contact with the metal spiritual power shield on the surface of his body. It was like the sound of metal rubbing against each other, making people feel uncomfortable. Yi Tianyun instantly felt a wave of resistance, but with his domineering strength, he was able to pierce through it. After piercing through the shield in one fell swoop, Qing Feng quickly dodged to the back. At the same time, he reached out to block the attack. However, Yi Tianyun's speed was temporarily a level higher than his. He quickly caught up and continued to stab forward. Qing Feng roared and reached out to grab the blood dragon bone blade. A dang sound rang out as the two collided. He didn't expect that when he stabbed Qing Feng, he would feel as if he had collided with a weapon. However, with Yi Tianyun's insane strength, he could still cut it open easily. Puchi, the blood dragon formed by the blood dragon bone blade bit down and pierced through it as easily as if it was a piece of tofu. The blood dragon bone blade was a high-grade soul weapon. Coupled with his frightening strength, he could kill gods and Buddhas if he met gods. Bastard! Qing Feng bit his tongue, and his golden face blossomed with a red light. He completely ignited his own blood essence, and all of a sudden, his strength exploded. Whether it was his speed or strength, they were all greatly improved. However, he didn't counterattack. Instead, he quickly dodged to the side. In a situation where he didn't have any weapons, or in a situation where he couldn't recover, he was in a passive situation. He could only dodge first. After exploding his strength, under Yi Tianyun's appraisal, Qing Feng's combat strength instantly soared. In an instant, it exploded to 3,450,000, and it could still continue to increase. In an instant, his speed increased, and he dodged to the side. He was even faster than Yi Tianyun. If this continued, he would definitely escape from the attack range. At this moment, Yi Tianyun quickly changed his strategy. With all his strength, he fiercely slashed upwards, as fast as lightning. Following that, an arrow of blood sprayed out, sprinkling in the area. Following that, a golden arm flew out. After spinning a few rounds in the air, it fell to the ground, and the golden light quickly dimmed. At this time, Qing Feng had already escaped, but he had lost an arm. Fortunately, he dodged quickly. Otherwise, it wouldn't just be an arm, but half of his body. So what if it was the golden body secret art? It could still be cut into two pieces. If Qing Feng wasn't confident, he would have put on some treasured clothes, and the injury would definitely not be so bad. Ah! Qing Feng screamed. How could he not be in pain after losing half of his arm? However, he quickly stopped the bleeding, stabilized his body, and took out a pill and stuffed it into his mouth. This time, he wouldn't take the wrong pill. After all, he didn't activate the bad luck pill. After taking it, the bleeding stopped immediately. This was definitely a life-saving pill. Yi Tianyun didn't stop attacking. He took a step forward, rolled up a blood chi, and stabbed towards Qing Feng. The domineering blood dragon roared and enveloped the entire hall. Don't be presumptuous. Qing Feng's eyes were filled with killing intent. In the blink of an eye, a jade pendant appeared in his hand. It looked very special. Immediately after that, he crushed the jade pendant. In the next moment, a phantom appeared in front of him. This was the majesty of a king. The phantom of a king. It gave Yi Tianyun the feeling of a king. This feeling was much stronger than the feeling he got from Spirit King Xian Tian. Yi Tianyun quickly used the appraisal eye to check the details of the phantom. The phantom of the Netherworld Great Emperor, peak of core transformation stage. Lasts for 10 seconds. Combat power 6. 5 million. A total of 6 million combat power, and this was only the surface. When he attacked, he would definitely burst out with more power. This was not the real Netherworld Great Emperor himself. Instead, he suppressed his power in the jade pendant and formed a special talisman. As long as he crushed it, he would be able to release the power contained in it. This was the best proof that the battle would not last for a long time. 10 seconds was the best proof. But in front of such a strong person, 10 seconds was more than enough for him to make a lot of moves and resist a lot of attacks. The Netherworld Great Emperor. Yi Tianyun's face sank. It was as if a thick wall was blocking in front of him, making him unable to move forward. This power is more than 2 million battle power compared to his own power at his limit. The Netherworld Great Emperor's deep eyes were filled with the majesty of a king. He opened his big hand and tried to envelop Yi Tianyun. Netherworld Divine Palm. The huge palm was fiercely slapped down. In an instant, a huge palm condensed in the void. It was so huge that it covered the entire hall. Yi Tianyun couldn't escape unless he ran out of the hall. But judging from the current situation, it was too late for him to escape. He could only resist. Chapter 242. The terrifying Netherworld Divine Palm pressed down from the sky. The pressure that filled the sky was terrifying and a lot of the surrounding palaces were destroyed. Even the world itself was shaking because of it. Yi Tianyun looked up at the giant palm. The terrifying power reached more than 7 million battle power. After using martial arts, the power suddenly rose to more than 1 million battle power. This is the level of the peak of core transformation stage. But this is only the effect of the phantom. If the real peak of core transformation stage is here, it will be far more than this value. Boy, no matter who you are, pretending to be my shadow guard, you must die. Qing Feng roared, clutching his broken arm. His face was pale, but the anger in his eyes could not be easily extinguished. His arm was chopped off, basically cannot be reattached. Although there is a divine pill that can regenerate the arm, but the price to pay is extremely high, how can this not make him angry? He is sure that the person in front of him is not a shadow guard. The shadow guard will not betray him, not to mention they don't have these weapons, techniques, and strength. Yi Tianyun looked at the giant palm, his eyes flashed, and suddenly his figure disappeared in front of Qing Feng. Everything happened so suddenly that Qing Feng was stunned. How can he suddenly disappear? Could it be that he had concealed himself? But that's not right, he didn't see Yi Tianyun's figure at all. With his cultivation, he should be able to see where Yi Tianyun is hiding, but he can't see Yi Tianyun at all. Boom! Following that, the Netherworld Divine Palm came crashing down heavily on the ground, triggering a violent explosion that almost tore the entire palace apart. At least, the study room where Qing Feng was has been blown up, turned into ruins. The deafening sound resounded throughout the entire palace, causing many guards to quickly rush over. Huff, huff, bastard, this time you will die. I can't see where you are, but I don't believe you can hide. Qing Feng gasped to relieve the pain in his wound. The pain of a broken arm is not so easy to relieve. The Netherworld Great Emperor's projection looked around, but he didn't see any enemies. 10 seconds passed very quickly, and then the talisman gradually disappeared. Qing Feng's eyes were red as he looked at the dusty area in front of him. It was as if he could see Yi Tianyun's corpse lying on the ground. When the dust was about to disperse, a scarlet cold light flickered behind Qing Feng's back. Puchi! It penetrated Qing Feng's body. A bone blade that looked like a dragon pierced through his chest and came into Qing Feng's line of sight. Why are you hiding behind me? Qing Feng's eyes were filled with fear. There was no place to hide from the Netherworld Emperor's attack. Even if he wanted to hide behind the Netherworld Emperor, it was impossible. After all, the Netherworld Great Emperor was blocking their way. If they wanted to pass through here, they would have to enter the Netherworld Great Emperor's line of sight. As long as he entered the line of sight of the Netherworld Great Emperor, he would definitely be attacked. Otherwise, the talisman would be useless. You don't need to know this. Just die for me. Yi Tianyun fiercely pulled the blood dragon bone blade to the side. He didn't choose to attack Qing Feng's head. Instead, he chose to attack Qing Feng's chest, just in case. Qing Feng's cultivation was not weak. At the critical moment, he would erupt with power. The area of the neck was too small. If he missed, then his sneak attack would fail. If he attacked the body, then it would be very easy to hit. Now, the effect was pretty good. Qing Feng's waist was directly cut in half. His upper body fell forward. Even if I die, I won't let you have an easy time. Qing Feng revealed a cruel smile. At the moment when he fell down, a jade pendant appeared in his hand and he ruthlessly crushed it. The Netherworld Great Emperor's projection immediately appeared. He looked at Yi Tianyun with an indifferent gaze and coldly stared at him. The moment he appeared, he stretched out his hand to grab Yi Tianyun. The Netherworld Divine Palm was once again displayed. A terrifying palm that could crush the void ruthlessly slapped towards Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun's expression changed. This time, he couldn't dodge easily. Previously, he could only dodge because of his instantaneous movement. This was a trump card for escaping. In an instant, he escaped behind Qing Feng and hid. As long as the distance was a little further, Yi Tianyun wouldn't be able to find him. Now that instantaneous movement had entered a cooldown period, he needed a whole 10 minutes to use it again. But now, he didn't even need 10 minutes. 10 seconds was enough for the Netherworld Great Emperor to suppress him. Damn it! Yi Tianyun didn't expect that Qing Feng would have another jade pendant. The Netherworld Great Emperor really valued him too much. He actually gave him an extra one. The difficulty of creating this item was not low. It required a Divine Rune Grandmaster to create it. Qing Feng had a high status. There were many people who wanted to assassinate him. Of course, he needed a protective talisman to protect himself. Netherworld Divine Palm. An ancient aura slapped over. Qing Feng, who was lying on the ground far away, could still look at Yi Tianyun with a mocking expression. It was as if he could already see the end of the life of the assassin. Boom! A heavy palm slapped down. A large part of the building collapsed. The entire palace shook. However, after the explosion, a completely unscathed Yi Tianyun appeared in front of Qing Feng. There wasn't a single injury on his body. He took out a black cloak and lightly swung it. The shadow cloak was immune to all attacks for 5 seconds. The grade of the cloak wasn't high, but its effect was definitely at the divine level. Even the Netherworld Divine Palm was immune to it. Qing Feng's eyes widened. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He didn't expect that the Netherworld Great Emperor wouldn't be able to cause any damage to his opponent. However, when he was immune to all attacks, the Netherworld Great Emperor slapped out again. He only knew one move, and that was the Netherworld Divine Palm. Strike after strike bombarded Qing Feng. In a short period of 5 seconds, the Netherworld Great Emperor had actually slapped out 3 times. Fortunately, he had the shadow cloak. Otherwise, he would have long been sent flying. Ding! Immunity effect disappears. At this time, the immunity effect had disappeared. However, his opponent could still persist for 5 seconds. A short period of 5 seconds was enough for a strong cultivator to do a lot of things. The Netherworld Great Emperor's shadow had already become very dim. However, he still aimed at Yi Tianyun and sent out another palm. Damn it! There's still one more palm. Yi Tianyun felt that this was the last palm. He could only try his best to block it. Dragon God Bloodline, open. Xian Tian Divine Art, open. Chapter 243. Yi Tianyun activated his strongest defense. It's impossible for him to fight against the opponent, so he can only strengthen his own defense to resist the attack. Yi Tianyun activated his Dragon God Bloodline and Xian Tian Divine Art, but the palm hit his body. Boom! Yi Tianyun felt like his body was torn apart. He was sent flying and heavily hit the wall behind him. When his sturdy body slammed into the wall, countless cracks appeared on the wall. He had almost pierced through the wall. Humph! Yi Tianyun groaned and fell from the wall, half kneeling on the ground. Cough, cough, cough. Yi Tianyun violently coughed a few times. He was slightly injured, but there were no obvious scars on his body. However, Yi Tianyun felt like his internal organs were displaced. The power of this palm was amazing. Fortunately, his defense is even more amazing. With the combination of Dragon God Bloodline and Xian Tian Divine Art, his defense reached a new height. Coupled with the titles of Guardian, his defense has reached an amazing level. Although he couldn't completely defend against the attack, at least most of it was blocked. After casting this palm, the phantom of the Netherworld Great Emperor gradually disappeared. He didn't continue to cast the next palm, the previous one was too fierce. This talisman can store a certain amount of energy, but it doesn't mean that it's infinite, there will always be a limit. After the talisman dissipated, Yi Tianyun stood up and coughed a few times. His injuries are not bad, if not for his strong defense, he would have been half crippled. The Netherworld Divine Palm has 6 million battle power, if he didn't die, he would have been crippled. Yi Tianyun walked over to Qingfeng. Now Qingfeng only has half of his body left, he's on the verge of death. If he was an ordinary person, he would have already died, but Yi Tianyun is a core transformation expert, so his vitality is relatively tenacious. This is the Xian Tian Divine Art, you are from the heaven's top mansion. Qingfeng's eyes widened in disbelief. When he saw the Xian Tian Divine Art, he immediately recognized it. This martial art was one of the reasons why they wanted to enlist. It was for this Xian Tian Divine Art. He wanted to recruit the Heaven's Top Mansion and then slowly get the Heavenly Profound Divine Technique out. Although the Netherworld Empire also had a lot of powerful martial arts, who would complain about not having enough powerful martial arts? Some were especially suitable to cultivate the Xian Tian Divine Technique, so they needed it. If it weren't for the Xian Tian Divine Art, Heaven's Top Mansion would have been razed to the ground. Recruiting them would give them more strength, but the most important thing was the Xian Tian Divine Art. Without the Xian Tian Divine Art, Heaven's Top Mansion is nothing. It would be easy to flatten them directly, but it did not mean that they could force the Xian Tian Divine Art out of them. They could only choose a gentle approach. You guessed it, I'm from Heaven's Top Mansion. Yi Tianyun took off his veil, he even took off the 100 transformation mask, he looked at him coldly and said, you want to capture Heaven's Top Mansion's people, and you want to destroy Heaven's Top Mansion? Yes, it's you. Qingfeng was shocked to see Yi Tianyun die. Before he died, he was shocked. He never thought that Yi Tianyun would come to assassinate him. How can such a young boy have such terrifying strength? He instantly understood who the mysterious expert of Heaven's Top Mansion is. However, it was too late. Qingfeng was already dead, and he died with his eyes wide open. Ding! Successfully killed Qingfeng, gained 460,000 EXP, 4,500 Crazy Point, 200 SPS, obtained Martial Art Golden Body Secret, Rare. Obtained Netherworld Talisman, summoned Netherworld Emperor's Shadow, 20 times EXP card, rare, Spirit Race Prison Key, rare. Ding! Congratulations to player E Tianyun, successfully killed a super elite, got an extra enhanced lottery roulette, extra level up. Ding! Congratulations to player E Tianyun, successfully broke through to Spirit Core Peak. What? E Tianyun was dumbfounded. This time he didn't get a level upgrade card, he directly leveled up. Looking at the empty EXP in the property bar, E Tianyun suddenly wanted to cry. He only had a few million EXP left to level up, but the extra EXP was emptied. This means that the previous tens of millions of EXP was wasted. E Tianyun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Why didn't they change it to a level upgrade card this time, but directly forced him to level up? It seems that it depends on the situation. It's much better to use a level upgrade card. E Tianyun shifted his attention to Ching Feng. I have to say, this guy is really poor. He didn't even drop a single weapon, but it's all rare items, it's worth it. E Tianyun quickly took Ching Feng's storage ring. In fact, it doesn't matter whether he drops anything or not, the storage ring on his body is enough. The treasures here were all offered by the manor heads. Now that they were all in his possession, he must be overflowing with wealth. Sir, what happened? E Tianyun quickly put on a mask and disappeared from the scene. The guards quickly rushed over to E Tianyun's side, and E Tianyun's figure quickly disappeared from the scene. Soon, the guards quickly arrived, because the outside had collapsed, so they could only crawl over, naturally not too fast. The power of the Netherworld Divine Palm was too strong, naturally they couldn't rush over quickly. When they rushed over, they found Ching Feng's body here. They were immediately shocked. Sir Cheng. They quickly rushed over, a little bit, checked the aura, a little bit, their faces became pale. They didn't expect Sir Cheng to die like this. Looking at the tragic state of death, they couldn't look directly at it. Ching Feng was so strong, how could he die here? They don't know what kind of strong expert came here. Quickly search the whole area. A leading general calmed down and gave the order to search the whole area. Although Ching Feng is dead, there are still many generals here, immediately gave the order to search the whole area. One of the guards stood up, took out a cannon, quickly pulled it, a burst of fireworks rushed into the sky, followed by an explosion. The whole imperial city's army looked over, their expressions immediately changed. They started a comprehensive search to see if there were any suspicious people. E Tianyun sneaked away, but his body felt a little serious. The power of the palm just now was too strong. Although he blocked it, it still made him feel very uncomfortable. This made it difficult for him to hide. His figure was faintly discernible. This injury needs to be treated a little. E Tianyun felt a little dizzy. The Netherworld Divine Palm was not an undeserved reputation, it had a special effect. The person who was hit by it will have a blurred vision for a short period of time, affecting the state of the battle. Check this side. At this time, a guard came over to search. E Tianyun hurriedly raised his head, immediately his figure flashed. He arrived in front of one of the houses. With a perfect jump, he jumped in through the air window at the top. But just as he landed, a cold light flashed, pointing in his direction. Who is it? A delicate voice came. Chapter 244. Miss you, don't be angry, I will stay for a while and then leave. When Yi Tianyun saw Yu Shiqian, he smiled bitterly. Who would have thought that this was Yu Shiqian's room? This was the closest room he could find. It was useless to hide on the roof, he had to hide in the room. If he hadn't been hit by the Netherworld Divine Palm, he wouldn't have needed to hide. After all, no one would be able to find him. As for flying, that was even more difficult. Even though they could fly very fast, they would still be discovered, and it was easy to cause a disturbance. He didn't rule out the possibility that there might be other core transformation cultivators in this room, so he had to be careful. I will stay for a while, but who are you? Yu Shiqian said coldly. She pointed her sword at Yi Tianyun and didn't relax at all. In the middle of the night, hiding in such a noisy environment was definitely not a good person. Yu Shiqian didn't dare to relax, so she kept pointing her sword at Yi Tianyun. Me? Yi Tianyun's figure flashed and appeared behind Yu Shiqian. He grabbed her hands and pressed his body against her back. Miss Yu, don't move. Yu Shiqian was shocked, she didn't even have time to react. Yi Tianyun was already behind her and completely controlled her. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't break free from Yi Tianyun's grip, her whole body was locked in place. Yi Tianyun was hit by the Netherworld Divine Palm, but his condition is not bad. He can't even walk, but he can't use his concealment skill anymore. Concealment skills required players to conceal all of their strength. Only then could they achieve the effect of concealment. How could he hide when the Netherworld Divine Palm's effect was on him? He could only wait for the effect to disappear, then he could hide again. You, what do you want to do? Yu Shiqian felt the heat on her back, and a man's scent entered her nose, making her feel extremely embarrassed. She wanted to resist, but she couldn't. She was completely immobilized. The worst part was that he pressed his body against her, so she couldn't move. Yi Tianyun didn't want to do this, but he was afraid that Yu Shiqian would lose her mind. If he didn't come closer, Yu Shiqian would probably kick him, and that would be fatal. Yu Shiqian's cultivation is not very high, but she is still a core condensation cultivator. If he kicks her a few times, it will not be fun. Miss Rain, I've already said that it's nothing. You just have to stay here and not move. I really just want to hide here for a while. Yi Tianyun didn't have any other thoughts. Even though he was so close to her, he didn't have any other thoughts. He just wanted to hide here for a while, not to rape her. Then why aren't you leaving? Yu Shiqian blushed. She was embarrassed and annoyed. She had never been so close to a man before, and they were practically hugging each other. If someone saw it here, he would never be able to clear his name. Then don't call for help, and don't do anything, Yi Tianyun said. Okay. Yu Shiqian glared at him and bit her lips. Then Yi Tianyun quickly let go of her hand and moved to the side, but just as he moved, Yu Shiqian stabbed him with her sword. You pervert. Yi Tianyun reached out and caught the sword. He is now at the peak of Spirit Core stage, he is much stronger than Yu Shiqian, he is a whole realm higher than her. So many realms higher than her, as long as she doesn't deliberately let herself be killed, she won't be able to kill him. Miss Rain, I told you not to move, but here you are again. Yi Tianyun said helplessly. Just a little bit, I won't touch you. Yu Shiqian snorted coldly. She let go of her sword and dodged to the side, glaring at him angrily. How could she let go of her anger so easily? If it wasn't for Yi Tianyun's cultivation being too strong, she would have already attacked him. Who are you? What happened outside? Yu Shiqian thought for a moment and asked. You don't need to know, you will know tomorrow, don't worry. Yi Tianyun smiled indifferently. He didn't show his face, he didn't know Yu Shiqian, he didn't need to show his face to her. He didn't want to show his face. Dong dong dong. At this time, someone knocked on the door. Is there anyone inside? Come to check. The guard's voice came from outside. It seems like they are going to check the rooms one by one. If someone is missing, it will be a big problem. Yu Shiqian was startled and looked at Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun nodded and signaled her to open the door. Yu Shiqian hesitated for a moment and stood up to open the door. If she didn't open the door, it would be impossible for them to give up. She opened the door. When the guard saw Yu Shiqian, he said seriously, there is a problem, please cooperate with us and allow us to check the room. Why are you checking the room in the middle of the night? Yu Shiqian frowned. She didn't say that Yi Tianyun was inside. In fact, she didn't have a good impression of the Netherworld Empire. Moreover, they suddenly came to check the room in the middle of the night. That's none of your business. If you don't check the room, then don't blame us for being impolite. The guard's cultivation was not low. Even if his cultivation was low, he could still be so overbearing. The Netherworld Empire's name was enough. Resisting was the same as rebelling against the Netherworld Empire. No, this is my room, why are you checking? Yu Shiqian resisted. Break in. The guards rushed in and broke the door. They didn't care about Yu Shiqian at all. Yu Shiqian was startled. She quickly turned around and saw that there was no one behind her. She let out a sigh of relief. She didn't know why she let out a sigh of relief. They weren't related to each other. After searching for half a day with them, they still couldn't find a single person. All of them left with cold faces, not even bothering to say a word. Their overbearingness was evident. At the same time, the Great Elder was also being searched. Open the door, check the room. Grandpa, what should we do? Why did they suddenly come to check the room? If they find out that Yi Tianyun is missing, we will be in trouble. Mu Xian said anxiously. Yi Tianyun had been gone for a long time. We can only delay for a while. I don't know when Yi Tianyun will come back. They didn't know why they were checking the room, but they were sure that it was not something good. Bang! Before they could think further, the door was smashed open. It was very rough. The guard rushed in and looked at them coldly. Why did you not open the door? Where is your mansion master? Our mansion master. The Great Elder didn't know how to explain. What's wrong? I want to sleep, but I can't. Yi Tianyun came out from behind the screen. He yawned and looked at them helplessly. After the guard saw it, he snorted coldly, it's good that they're all here. If not, then you'll be in big trouble. The guard turned around and left. He didn't stay for long. As long as Yi Tianyun was here, their task was over. Chapter 245. Mansion Lord, when did you come back? The Great Elder said with a sigh of relief when he saw Yi Tianyun. Fortunately, Yi Tianyun came back in time, otherwise the problem would be troublesome. He disappeared in front of so many eyes, even if he didn't do anything, they will frame him. We just came back. We were almost found out. If that happened, we would be in trouble. Yi Tianyun also felt that it was a bit dangerous. If they really broke in and didn't see him, then it would be very troublesome. Unless he killed them all, he must have something up his sleeves. With so many people watching him, he must have some ability to sneak out. As for what he did, the Netherworld Empire would have to interrogate him. Especially now that Qing Feng was dead, there would be more trouble. Mansion Lord, what did you do just now? The Great Elder asked quietly. You will know tomorrow. Yi Tianyun smiled and walked inside. I'm going to take a rest first. Call me if you have any questions. They looked at each other and didn't know why Yi Tianyun was so mysterious. But since he didn't say anything, they were too embarrassed to ask. Yi Tianyun came to the corner of the room and meditated. Of course, he didn't come here to sleep, he came here to cultivate. After meditating, he chose the Spirit Core Stage upgrade card. If his cultivation exceeded this level, he wouldn't be able to use it. Use upgrade card. Ding. Successfully used upgrade card. Ding. Congratulations to player Yi Tianyun for successfully breaking through to level 1 core transformation stage. In an instant, Yi Tianyun felt that his power has increased a lot, and he has entered a whole new realm. His control of spiritual power had been greatly improved. When he reached this level, he would be able to fly. Using the phoenix wings at this time was the time to display its strongest effect. His speed would increase by several times on the original basis. Let's check my combat power. Yi Tianyun checked his combat power. When he was at 9th level of Spirit Core Realm, his combat power was about 500,000, which seems low. But in a real battle, his combat power was much more than that. After all, he had many bonuses, including weapons, armors, and martial arts. When all of them were added together, their strength would reach an astonishing level. But crazy mode was only based on the most basic combat power. So no matter how powerful the weapon was, it couldn't explode without cultivation. The combat power of a 9th level Spirit Core Cultivator was about 500,000, while the combat power of a peak Spirit Core Cultivator was about 550,000. One could only imagine how great the increase in level would be. If it was multiplied by tens of thousands and multiplied by 8 times, the effect would be completely different. As for level 1 core transformation stage, his combat power had reached 800,000 combat power. All of a sudden, his battle power increased by 250,000, which was a qualitative leap. This made him suck in a mouthful of cold air. No wonder Qing Feng has nearly 2 million battle power without any equipment. In the case of subtracting some bonuses, it was normal for his combat power to increase by 200,000 or 300,000 per level. When he reached the 5th level of the core transformation stage, his combat power was indeed more than 2 million. No wonder the higher the level, the more difficult it was to fight. The increase in combat power at each level was amazing. It was just a difference of 1 level, but it was like a chasm. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't close the gap. The only thing that could make up for the gap was weapons. Extremely powerful weapons and divine runes could increase his combat power by hundreds of thousands. So this was a very important way to fight. In addition, there were medicinal pills, which could quickly close the gap between the two. 800,000 combat power, if I use crazy mode. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. With his current strength, he could easily suppress Qing Feng. His combat power had reached 6.4 million, which was terrifying. This was the importance of level. The higher the level, the stronger the basic explosive power. Anyway, I can open the level 41 gift pack now. Let's see what's inside. Yi Tianyun was more concerned about the level 41 gift pack. There were always a lot of good things inside. This time should be no exception. Ding! Successfully opened level 41 gift pack. Obtained 30 times EXP card, 5 times proficiency card, 5 times crazy point card, 2 times sin value card. Successfully learned Pet Capture Beginner Mastery. A lot of EXP cards dropped, and the most important thing was the Pet Capture Mastery. Beginner Mastery of Pet Capture, can capture any creature other than humans as its own pet. The higher the level, the higher the probability of capturing it, and the higher the level it could capture. What should come has come. Yi Tianyun didn't have many pets. One was Snow Wolf King and the other was Black Dragon. Both of them were very strong, but it was still not enough. Now that he has the pet capture skill, it's different. He can go crazy and capture demon beasts as pets. There are also beast tamers here, but they have to train their demon beasts from childhood to become their personal companion. Adult demon beasts can also be domesticated, but the difficulty is too high, but there are still people who can do it. In general, most of them are domesticated from childhood, so the number is relatively small. It's impossible to control a lot of them at the same time. Now Yi Tianyun's pet capture mastery is different, he can use it as soon as he catches it. This means that in the future, if he sees a demon beast that is pleasing to the eye, he can easily capture it and use it as a gatekeeper. It really didn't disappoint me, the items in this gift pack are really good. I wonder what will be in the next gift pack. Yi Tianyun was full of anticipation. Yi Tianyun then activated the enhanced lottery roulette. He got a lucky draw before, this time he can't waste it. After activating Luck Aura, the lottery roulette spun so fast that it's dazzling. I don't care this time, I want whatever I get. Yi Tianyun felt that it doesn't matter what he gets, it's free anyway. Very quickly, the lottery roulette stopped at the weapon. This was the first time he had drawn a weapon. With a ding-dong, a jade box fell out. After he opened the box, a weapon appeared in front of him. Ice Divine Bow, high-grade soul tool, upgradable, can release ice arrow to freeze the enemy into ice sculpture. The longest range increases with the increase of cultivation. Special effect, consume 5,000 crazy point, can erupt extreme ice arrow with twice the power, twice the speed, twice the distance, and cover the entire range within 1 mile. Good stuff. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. He really appreciates long-range attack. Standing on the spot and being able to kill the enemy from thousands of miles away, this is the way of the king. Chapter 246. While Yi Tianyun was laughing, everyone looked at each other, wondering if Yi Tianyun was possessed. Grandpa, do you want to go and see? Mu Xian, was a little worried. It's okay, it's just that he is a bit excited. The situation of the mansion lord is not something we can imagine. To be able to cultivate to this level at such a young age, there must be something special about him. The great elder stopped them from thinking and said. Yi Tianyun didn't care about their gazes, his eyes were focused on the Ice Divine Bow. This is a very good weapon, at least he didn't waste it. After the lottery, Yi Tianyun clicked on the current situation, and soon all the information was listed. Player, Yi Tianyun level, 41, first level core transformation stage, EXP, 1893689 crazy point prestige, 630 point sin point, 3556 cultivation technique, Dark North divine art, Dragon God secret art, Xian Tian divine art, Heaven devouring divine art, Golden Body secret art martial arts, Absorbing stars great technique, Blood Fiend soaring sky, Azure Cloud sword technique, Azure Cloud steps weapon, Frost fist, Blood Fiend divine spear, Sword of endlessness, Chaotic heaven sacred axe, Blood dragon bone. Blade, Ice divine bow armor, Divine armor, Shadow cloak, Chaotic heaven divine armor, Chaotic heaven battle boots, Blood Fiend divine armor divine ability, Crazy mode, Luck aura, Teleportation bloodline, Dragon God bloodline decoration, Forging God hammer, Power bracelet, Power ring, Power belt, Blood Fiend bracelet all items, 8 recovery medicinal pill, Gift pack LV41, Life X1, Blast divine pill, 20 times EXP card X2, Netherworld amulet, 30 times EXP card, 5 times proficiency card, 5 times crazy point card, 2 times sin value card treasure, Purple fire divine furnace, Blood jade, Coiling dragon treasure map, Jade pearl, Commander grimoire, Spirit key title, Guardian, Savior flame, Immortal fire, what, 100 million EXP. When Yi Tianyun saw the property bar, he was dumbfounded, especially the 100 million EXP. When he was at the peak of the spirit core stage, his cultivation was only 60 million, but when he reached the core transformation stage, his cultivation jumped to 100 million. Previously, it had been very difficult to level up with more than 50 million EXP. Now that he had 100 million EXP, even if he could obtain 1 million EXP with each kill, he would still have to kill over 100 to level up. One could imagine just how frightening it was. Fortunately, he had a lot of experience cards. If there were a lot of demonic beasts, he could level up. He felt helpless and could only take it one step at a time. Recently, there were no more missions popping up. No mission popped up this time. It could only be said that the situation here didn't meet the requirements for the mission, so it didn't pop up. After the lucky draw, he had nothing else to do. All that was left was to wait until the next day. In the blink of an eye, it was the second day. It was a quiet night. However, they were not released. They were still forced to stay in the room. In this situation, they stayed like this for 2 days. Many people were wondering what was going on. They were not allowed to go out. Could it be that Qing Feng had not rested enough? They had promised to treat them well, but they were all locked up in their rooms and were not allowed to go out at all. Some of the more sensitive people had already smelled the smell of something strange. Finally, on the 3rd day, they were summoned to the palace. Every guard had a stern expression on their faces as they coldly watched them enter. When they gathered together again, the person who welcomed them was not Qing Feng, but another minister, who had probably rushed over. "It's our Netherworld Empire's fault to keep you in the room for a few days." But this time, something very serious happened. Lin Hao's qi suddenly burst out. His cultivation was at the 7th level of core transformation stage, which was 2 levels higher than Qing Feng's. Although most of the palace lords were at the core transformation stage, they still felt a lot of pressure under Lin Hao's qi. As a minister of the Netherworld Empire, his cultivation level was naturally not low. Even if his cultivation level was the same, his martial arts were different, so the power released by him was naturally different. Lin Hao's words made many people's eyes flicker. They felt that something was wrong. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been allowed to stay in the room for so long. After being cooped up for a few days, they, as dignified manor heads, were like prisoners, locked up inside and unable to come out. They were still a little sullen. "I believe that everyone has sensed something strange. I will tell everyone clearly, our minister Qing Feng has been assassinated by someone." Lin Hao's voice was extremely cold, as if the temperature in the palace had suddenly dropped by several degrees. In fact, it was true. A cold qi was released from Lin Hao's body, which made the temperature of the whole palace drop. Obviously, he was a strong cultivator of the ice attribute, so he could freeze everything. As soon as the news came out, the whole area was in an uproar. Many people were shocked. Qing Feng was a core transformation stage cultivator. How could he be killed just like that? Who would dare to assassinate a minister of the Netherworld Empire? This. The great elder turned his head and looked at Yi Tianyun in horror. He immediately guessed that Yi Tianyun went out that night to assassinate Qing Feng. Qing Feng was a core transformation stage cultivator. How could he be killed like that? Doesn't this mean that Yi Tianyun's cultivation is higher than Qing Feng's? But they quickly recovered from the shock, and they didn't look at Yi Tianyun. They can't let this matter be exposed. If other people knew about it, their heaven's top mansion would definitely be finished. No matter what sect you are from, you will suffer the wrath of the Netherworld Empire if you kill a minister of the Netherworld Empire. At the same time, Yu Shiqian's face changed. She remembered the man in black that night. "Is he, big sister, what's wrong?" Zhao Yu saw that her complexion wasn't too good and asked. "No, nothing, I'm just thinking about something. Who is so powerful that they dared to kill Lord Qing?" Yu Shiqian didn't say it out loud. She didn't want to say it out loud, and it was a serious matter, so she didn't want to say it. Nan Fengyun's face also changed. He had a good relationship with Qing Feng. How could he just die like that? He spent a lot of money to build a good relationship with Qing Feng. He didn't expect that Qing Feng would suddenly die. Who would help him take care of the Divine Rune Mansion? What spirit races exchange? He was afraid that it had already become a fleeting cloud. Lin Hao looked around and said coldly, "I don't know if you have anything to do with Qing Feng's death or not. After some investigation, I found that none of you came out of your room. It seems that it has nothing to do with you, but your cultivation is not low. It's not difficult for you to sneak into the mansion without being noticed." The mansion lord's face changed. Does this new minister want to use torture to extort a confession? Chapter 247. They didn't know whether the Netherworld Empire was angry or not, but at least they felt Lin Hao's anger. Lin Hao was obviously very angry. The death of a minister was equal to a slap in the face of the Netherworld Empire. As a person who had a good relationship with Qing Feng, Lin Hao was also extremely angry. After coldly looking at them, Lin Hao said in a deep voice, "I'm not like Lord Qing who takes his time. I'm a person who prefers to be straightforward." This time, the Netherworld Emperor ordered Qing Feng to come here for one thing, and that is to hope that you can join the Netherworld Empire. Just after talking about Qing Feng's matter, he immediately began to talk about enlistment. The so-called joining was equal to being an affiliate. As long as you join our Netherworld Empire, you can enjoy a lot of resources. That includes our protection and the resources we provide, such as martial arts and the like. We can provide all of that. I believe that the strength of the Netherworld Empire is definitely much stronger than the forces present here. No one objected to Lin Hao's words. If it was not strong, how could it be called an empire? An empire was different from these forces. They occupied the entire continent and managed large and small sections. But the Heavenly Border continent was an exception. It was a vacant area and not under the jurisdiction of any empire. Because it was too far away, it was not easy to manage. There were many similar continents, so there were still a lot of free sections. Some empires were willing to recruit them. But the Heavenly Dragon Empire was under the jurisdiction of the Heavenly Dragon Empire, but under normal circumstances, they would not intervene in the affairs of the sections. The relationship between the Heavenly Dragon Empire and the Netherworld Empire had always been relatively deadlocked. There was basically no communication between them, and it was even more likely that a war would break out at any time. Lin Hao's words didn't surprise any of the palace lords. They certainly didn't come here for a meal, they must be enlistment. If you choose to join our Netherworld Empire, we will provide you with a lot of resources. Correspondingly, you must listen to our words. No matter what we do, you can't disobey our instructions. Under normal circumstances, we will not do anything to you as long as you obey our orders. If you don't choose to join our Netherworld Empire, we will not force you. Everything is up to you. Lin Hao looked at them and said in a low voice. They all believed that the first sentence was that they would certainly provide resources and interfere in the affairs of the sections. After spending so many resources, if they didn't care about anything, then what was the point of recruiting them? They were recruited to be used. As for what they would be sent to do, he had no idea. As for the last sentence, he really had to think about it carefully to see if it was true or not. This time, many sects were silent. What was to come would eventually come. However, some sects didn't even think about it and immediately agreed. We are willing to join the Netherworld Empire and serve the Netherworld Empire. The first one to speak was Nan Fengyun of the Divine Rune Mansion. He had agreed to join the Netherworld Empire. Originally, they had a good relationship with the Netherworld Empire, so it was only natural for them to join the Netherworld Empire. Lin Hao nodded. He was very satisfied with Nan Fengyun's performance. We are also willing to join the Netherworld Empire. Us too. One by one, the sects chose to join the Netherworld Empire. Some of them were willing and some were not. Those who were unwilling were afraid of retaliation, so they could only choose to join. Thank you for the Netherworld Empire's invitation, but we, the White Lotus Mansion, will not consider joining for the time being. At this time, a beautiful woman in a white dress walked out and chose to refuse the invitation. She was the Mansion Lord of the White Lotus Mansion. She represented the entire White Lotus Mansion to express her opinion. Her cultivation level was also not low. She had reached the 5th layer of core transformation stage. In terms of age, she was much younger than Lin Hao, so it was obvious that she was very talented. A cold light flashed in Lin Hao's eyes. It's okay, we, the Netherworld Empire, respect your opinion, and we don't mean to force you. Who knew if it was true or not? The White Lotus Mansion was one of the top 3rd-grade forces. It had its own strength, and it might have a void spirit stage cultivator among its ranks. The Netherworld Empire didn't dare to force them. If they really fought, the Netherworld Empire would definitely win, but they would also suffer a heavy loss. We also will not consider joining for the time being. We are very grateful for the Netherworld Empire's invitation. A mansion lord walked out and said apologetically. Those who were able to say such words had a very strong background, and it was very likely that they would become the Netherworld Empire in the future. Lin Hao didn't say anything, because he didn't know what to say. Soon, only one of the 14 forces didn't answer, and that was the Heaven's Top Mansion. No one thought that the Heaven's Top Mansion wouldn't agree. They even thought that the heaven's top mansion would definitely agree. When everyone's eyes were focused on Yi Tianyun, the great elder said in a low voice, "Mansion Lord, should we join or not?" In their hearts, they were definitely unwilling to join. If they joined, they would lose their freedom and would even be asked to hand over the Xian Tian divine art. Otherwise, they would lose the purpose of recruiting them. After recruiting all the forces, they would have to hand over their valuable things. The Netherworld Empire had done this kind of thing many times. Otherwise, the Netherworld Empire wouldn't have such a bad reputation. They were already at odds with each other, so if they joined in, it would be tantamount to them swallowing their anger. But if they didn't agree, they would be courting death. Yi Tianyun didn't answer the great elder's question. He lifted his foot and looked at Lin Hao and said, "Thank you for the invitation, but we don't want to join any forces for the time being. We just want to develop ourselves." What? His words were like a clap of thunder that exploded in the area, causing many people to be stunned. They actually dared to refuse the Netherworld Empire's invitation. Did their brains get kicked by a donkey? They actually refused the Netherworld Empire's invitation. This was something that no one had expected, or thought that they would definitely join. Who would have thought that there was a grudge between them? If nothing happened between them and the Netherworld Empire, they might really join. Originally, the Heaven's top mansion was in decline, and it would be good for them to join. A lot of their people were killed, and a few traitors appeared. Their mansion lord was crippled, and now they joined. Chapter 248. Heaven's top mansion has a big problem now, and that is, if they join, they will be reduced to slaves. Their Xian Tian divine art will be taken away, and their power will be taken away. Basically, they are no different from puppets. Although they didn't do it, they already knew what the Netherworld Empire was going to do. Yi Tianyun already knew this from Qingfeng. If it wasn't for the Xian Tian divine art, Heaven's top mansion would have already been destroyed. The first thing they will do is to take away the Xian Tian divine art. If they don't, they will be dead. If they give away the Xian Tian divine art, they will also be dead. After all, the Xian Tian divine art has no value. Yi Tianyun's answer made a lot of people feel strange. Not only did he offend the divine rune mansion, but now he doesn't even care about the Netherworld Empire's face. Isn't he courting death? Can you speak on behalf of the Heaven's top mansion? Lin Hao's face was gloomy. If the top third-grade forces don't want to join, he can bear it. But if the Heaven's top mansion doesn't want to join, then it's really a slap in the face. "Yes, I am the mansion lord," Yi Tianyun said indifferently. Such a young mansion lord. Lin Hao was stunned for a moment, and then immediately said, "That's good, the Netherworld Empire will not force you." Lin Hao's words were very heavy, but he didn't know whether it was true or not. In front of so many forces, he didn't say his real thoughts, so no one knew what he was thinking. Yi Tianyun walked back to the Netherworld Empire with an indifferent look. He knew what kind of problem he was facing, but for him, it's as simple as that. He can't accept the humiliation of joining the Netherworld Empire. Or rather, it's a dead end, so why not choose to die? Those who choose to join the Netherworld Empire can stay, those who don't can leave now. Lin Hao said coldly. He didn't stay to entertain them. Those who joined would definitely be treated well, and those who didn't could only scram. They came for a stroll and then went back. They didn't even get a sip of hot soup. From the very beginning of the banquet until now, they had not been treated with any great hospitality. Other than facing their arrogance, they did not feel the slightest bit of enthusiasm. The people from the White Lotus Mansion didn't say anything. They just turned around and left. Yi Tianyun also chose to leave. He didn't want to stay here any longer. But when Yi Tianyun was about to leave, Lin Hao's voice came again, "Heaven's top mansion, when did I allow you to leave?" Yi Tianyun frowned. didn't they say that those who didn't choose to join the Netherworld Empire could leave? Those from the White Lotus Mansion glanced over and shook their heads before leaving. They didn't stay any longer, including the Starry Pavilion. The Star Pavilion also did not join the Netherworld Empire. Their status was not low, so there was no need for them to join the Netherworld Empire. It's a pity, if this little friend was not the Mansion Lord, I would have been able to protect him. Li Tianlong sighed. Yi Tianyun was already a 4th grade Divine Rune Master at such a young age. But he had to take it one step at a time. First, he would be a guest, and then he would be accepted as a disciple. He didn't expect that it would be the Mansion Lord of Heaven's top mansion. It was really hard for him to protect Yi Tianyun. If he showed up now, it would be tantamount to going against the Netherworld Empire. Sigh, it's really a pity. Who knows? Elder Yun and the others shook their heads. They sincerely want to recruit Yi Tianyun, but who knows what will happen next. Yu Shiqian couldn't help but look at Yi Tianyun. It's not that she fell in love with Yi Tianyun, but she felt that Yi Tianyun was a little familiar. Even his voice was a little familiar. Maybe it's just my imagination. Yu Shiqian shook her head. She felt that Heaven's top mansion was going to be completely removed from the heavenly border continent. Soon, all the other sects left, and there were only 2 camps left. One side joined the Netherworld Empire, and the other side didn't. Those who didn't join the Netherworld Empire were very miserable, and only Heaven's top mansion was left. Grandpa. Mu Xian tightly grabbed the Great Elder's clothes, and her beautiful eyes were filled with worry. She knew that things wouldn't end so easily, but in the face of such a behemoth, their hearts couldn't help but tremble, including the Great Elder. They never thought that they would face such a behemoth, and now it's the reality. If Yi Tianyun didn't come, this situation wouldn't have happened. Heaven's top mansion had completely become the puppet of the Netherworld Empire, so naturally, they wouldn't appear. Since there was a change, it was inevitable that they would go against the Netherworld Empire. Don't worry, I'm here. Yi Tianyun turned back and smiled at her. His voice was so firm and confident. Mu Xian looked at Yi Tianyun, and for the first time, she felt that Yi Tianyun was no longer a pervert, but a real mansion lord, a mansion lord who was willing to shoulder the responsibility of Heaven's top mansion. Heaven's top mansion, do you know why I left you here? Lin Hao looked at them coldly. It's either to force us to stay here, or to force us to hand over the Xian Tian divine art. Yi Tianyun said lightly. There was nothing to hide, so he should just cut to the chase and get straight to the point. Xian Tian divine art. The people who stayed here were shocked. Xian Tian divine art was one of the strongest techniques of Heaven's top mansion, and they heard that it has reached the level of heaven-level martial art. How could the Netherworld Empire not be tempted by it? No wonder you're the new mansion lord, at least you're smart. Lin Hao sneered. Don't talk nonsense, hand over the Xian Tian divine art, and I'll spare your Heaven's top mansion. Do you think I'll believe you? Yi Tianyun sneered, hand over the Xian Tian divine art, and I'm afraid we'll die faster. Lin Hao's eyes flashed, and he sneered, if you don't hand it over now, then die. With a command, a few black shadows suddenly appeared out of thin air around them. 3 shadow guards dressed in black appeared beside them. Although there were a lot of shadow guards, there were less than 10 of them, but a lot of resources were spent to train them. Each shadow guard must be absolutely loyal, and their cultivation must not be too low. Each of them was at least Spirit Core stage, so a lot of resources were spent to train them. But they were good at assassination, so many forces couldn't guard against them. Yi Tianyun looked at the shadow guards around him, and the strongest one was at 3rd level Spirit Core stage, which was no different than garbage to him. But we don't have the Xian Tian divine art, how can we hand it over? Yi Tianyun said indifferently, you're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.